Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. We've got a great show for you today. It's an exciting show about supplements and gut health and nutrition and how that affects neurodivergent people and all this wonderful stuff. And of course, the person to help me, you know him, I love him. He's our technical producer, and my brother Tom is here. And
Hello,
he
hello.
pitched the show as well. This whole season of Awkward Sibling Hour is his pitch.
But you agreed to it.
I did. I'm culpable.
But these are all life skills we think, everyone needs and we enjoyed having. Like, we've worked hard to gain these skills.
So, do you want to go over the pitch?
So it turns out being neurodivergent means your body does not process nutrients the way neurotypicals often are considered to. So let's talk to everyone about nutrition and supplementation and, the modern world. The other part being, so they've been retesting vegetables the last 30 years and finding that all the nutrient information they had from 80 years ago is no longer valid. You get, in general, half or less of the nutrients from those old 1930s and 40s tests as you get in modern vegetation, in part because of monoculture. Also, we've just improved the way we can actually assess nutrients in things. But
it's a combination of things. So partly it is a depletion of soil. Partly it is a cultivation in faster growing plant life. And so they just simply do not have the grow time to literally absorb more nutrients from the soil. And then part of it is our technology to assess these micro and macronutrients. Our technology has improved a lot. So we better understand what the human body can absorb and what it cannot. So it's a combination of all these things means that pretty much whatever you see listed as, like, say, the nutritional contents of spinach, just plain old spinach, is not necessarily accurate anymore. It's going to be half of whatever is listed as the amount, because the USDA has found that when they do test them, nothing is coming in even close to what their listed amounts of nutritional content should be for plants, for plant food. I don't mean plant food. I mean like fruits and vegetables that we eat.
Yeah.
So it's something to be aware of. So there's that. But yeah, but also part of the problem, not just with the vegetables, but with just nutrition in general, is they're not teaching nutrition in schools anymore. They're certainly not teaching it as a yearly course. Hello. And people are having to find this information out on their own, and it's much harder now than even it used to be to determine what is accurate information and what is fake. What is disinformation or misinformation? What is information with a very strong bias slant because somebody else is paying for this print or even
and
this
also
study.
This is nothing new. Don't listen to this whole, there's this new conspiracy that they've been trying to do that, they're trying to change the narrative now versus, 20 years ago. No. The whole low carb diet phenomena was paid for by, I'm trying to remember who it was. I almost want to say it's milk, but I can't quite remember. Because they're like, but if we just say all calories, then that will mean they won't want to eat as much of our stuff either. So they just stacked it onto sugar, simple carbs. Complex carbs are fine. It's just the simple carbs that are bad for you. This was all actually paid for and promoted by industries.
Yeah, I thought it was like the cattlemen were involved. The
I
cattlemen
want to say the
association.
cattlemen were involved. I just can't quite remember how. But like
Yeah.
this whole, oh, protein's great for you. It's not a problem. And you just need high fiber. It's like, no.
But also, like, quite honestly, every diet ever has been made up.
Yes.
None of them started as scientific, like just doing pure research about how human bodies work and then figuring it out based on that. Not even Atkins, who likes to say, oh, ours is all science-based. No, they came up with the theory first and then started testing it on athletes, not even regular old humans. And they have since found that it's not even true of all athletes that this works. So again, diets are constructs, just like gender.
Diets are a product of the 1920s and the 1880s or 1890s. I can't remember when that first set of fads started. And all fad diets you see are not new. They have literally been recycled every 40 to 50 years, exactly the same. You can find it printed in magazines from 100 years ago. The fad diets don't change.
It is true. So I think like one of the things that's so important, particularly I would say to neurodivergent people, is to listen to your own gut, which is easier said than done, since many neurodivergent folks also are like, by definition of neurodivergent, is their neurology is a bit different. And often what we hear from neurodivergent people is that their neurology does not necessarily tell them exactly when something's in pain or when something doesn't feel good. Maybe they only get a general area, or maybe they don't notice at all, but their body starts like crying, but they're not even aware they're in pain. So again, it's hard to listen to your gut when your brain doesn't know how to interpret those signals from your own body. So I understand that what I'm saying is much easier said than done. I get it.
Although it does kind of go with the whole meditation thing, because meditation is about understanding how your body is trying to communicate with you. Like that's why I like the body check meditations of just how are different parts of my body feeling. I often didn't notice that.
Yes.
And what that may also indicate for your nutrition. There's a lot of little clues and cues you get. You don't always, but understanding what it is they actually mean is tricky. Like one of my favorites is what is it? I think cravings for garlic are often from people often have calcium deficits. Like they actually need more calcium in their diet, but you'll be craving garlic.
Well, yes. But I found for me personally, it was actually that I was craving manganese, which dairy products also contain manganese.
And so again, it's like finding what's that specific, like sometimes you may have these and it's trying to signal, but what exactly does vary. It's like anything, you are an individual. Your body's not quite the same as everyone else's. So you do have to learn about it.
So that's the basic idea of today's episode. We're going to talk about like essentially health culture, nutrition culture in the English speaking world, and how to figure out what is what, because there's a lot of money here in the health culture and nutrition culture, and it's not for the benefit of humans.
No.
So what that means is truly a buyer beware situation of everybody is out to take your money and no one cares whether you live or die. I'm so sorry if this is like a new revelation to you. I hope that you will be okay with it, but you need to know this is a greater industry that is filled with liars and scammers and conspiracy theorists and frankly a couple nut jobs, just straight up people who I really hope that they're just a con artist and they don't truly believe this nonsense. So, for instance, I am coming for all the people who said that somehow essential oils can fix autism or ADHD. Go to hell. I will give you the directions there.
Or paleo, a truly, literally imagined diet that there is no scientific backing for. Like before Homo sapiens, they did not eat this way. This is a created to market diet fad.
So, yeah, that is what we're going to talk about today. And some of it you may know, and some of it you may not. And if you have any questions, please be sure to put them in the comments into the chat, or if you're watching afterwards, into the comments. And as always, we hope you're going to get something out of this. Let us know. And if you do find this useful, please consider clicking the like button, sharing this show with your friends, and at least starting that conversation with other people about what is good health for you as a neurodivergent person. It's not necessarily health that neurotypical people experience, because there are so many comorbidities that come with being neurodivergent. It doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to have all these different comorbidities and health issues, but it does mean you are more likely. So, okay, then let's talk about it. Also, like, some of neurodivergence includes like bipolar disorder and Tourette's, things that can really get in the way of caring for yourself.
Also, something I hate to say, just because it is going to be it makes life harder. But like, as a small case study, Gloria and I, we've done our DNA test. We share a decent amount of DNA in common. We are siblings. We don't share as much DNA in common as we would imagine, but we share a decent amount. Our bodies sort of base causes for our ADHD symptoms are different. The medications that help us are different. We are direct siblings.
And yet we share at least 7 alleles.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, we have actually both had our DNA tested on the same platforms, and they're like, hey, did you know you two are related?
Yeah.
And we both share both genetic parents, okay? Both biological parents. Just, hey, Nia, I've been missing you too, sweetie. How's the whole planning the event, or did it just finish? I don't know the dates. But
a bit of the tism.
Do you have a bit of the tism, CB, as they say on TikTok? A bit of the tism. Where was I? Oh, ADHD got me. Oh, okay. So we're definitely related. We have had scientific proof, even though we've joked our whole lives that one or both of us was stolen from a hospital and that we could not possibly be related to the rest of our family. We've both joked about it, but it turns out, no, we're definitely related, at least to each other. And yet, our own ADHD, not the same. The medications that work for me do not work for him, and vice versa. So, just to give you an idea of how diverse people can be, neurologically speaking, even within the same family. And also, we found our stomachs are definitely not the same. The things that help us, and when they help us when we're not feeling well, there's not much overlap, to be perfectly honest. So, if we, who share quite a bit of genetics and both biological parents, have such diversity even within our own family, then you are definitely going to be different from any other person. And do not be like, well, but I'm not like other neurodivergents. Yeah, just like the rest of us. We're none of us are like each other. Don't worry about it, and don't sweat it.
All right, real quick though, because we have seen this come up in some of the autism TikToks of this confusion about neurodivergence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's neurodivergence is you came out of the womb with different, and just the way you developed was always going to be different.
Like, there was nothing where, so for instance, if in your 20s you had a head injury, that is not neurodivergence. Because that did not affect you at a developmental level growing up. How you came out of the womb, even if the symptoms did not manifest till you were like in elementary school or older or even high school, or maybe you didn't get diagnosed till you were in your 20s, but it was something that you've had since you were in the womb. That is neurodivergence. Okay.
It literally means you diverged from
your
normal
neurology diverged from the standard human model. Okay. That's what it means. So PTSD is not neurodivergence, because PTSD has to do with trauma that affects a person, but that does not change how their neurology developed as a child.
How their brain structures developed. Just like depression is not itself neurodivergence. It is more common in people who are neurodivergent, but it itself is not a neurodivergence.
I mean, if one day they find out that major depressive syndrome, and that is where a person pretty much stays depressed for decades and never really gets a let up, if they find out that that has to do with neurology from the very start, then yes. But as far as like any random person could have depression at some point in their life, that does not necessarily imply neurodivergence. So for instance, cerebral palsy, which is definitely in the womb, that's where it develops, even if the symptoms do not manifest until later, that's neurodivergence. Okay, Tourette's, bipolar, epilepsy, the brain was always wired differently. We just didn't realize it till symptoms became apparent. That is neurodivergence. So a stroke, like if we are talking about a stroke in adulthood, more than likely not. Now it depends on the cause of the stroke. So I have heard about some babies being susceptible to strokes, but had to do with that they were already neurodivergent and the stroke was a symptom, not a cause. So it would really have to do with why the stroke. However, so what I have been told is that shaken baby syndrome, for instance, because it changes how the baby develops from then after, that would be neurodivergence, even though the baby was not like that in the womb, because they suffered injury that changed the way their body develops, then yes, that's considered neurodivergent. So it has to do with, did it change the way that little human developed their neurology? So a person had post-concussion syndrome and adulthood, I would just say that sounds like brain damage.
Because the structures were already formed. Their neurology did not form differently. It was affected later in life.
Now they may, listen up, in 5, 10, 15 years, they may change the definition of neurodivergence to just be like, now your neurology is different no matter what. No matter how it developed, it's now different and that's all we care about. So just be aware that the definitions can change. So for instance, we don't use the term ADD anymore. We now just say all of it is ADHD. So, we used to make a differentiation between ADD and ADHD, and we no longer do that. Science has said there's inside the brain is not actually different. How it presents may be different, but what's going on in the brain is pretty much similar enough that they've just lumped them all together. So understand that science can change as technology improves and we have better imaging and we better understand what is at the root of how this human is different and why and how their brain is functioning. So just be aware, these things can change. So, like, for instance, we used to make a distinction between like autism and Asperger. And now we do not. It's just all autism spectrum disorder. We do not make a differentiation. It's just all autism. And now the only people using Asperger are, frankly, white supremacists and other prejudiced people. So, to them. They're trying to say that, oh, Asperger is special. And no, it's not. And Asperger was initially developed by Dr. Asperger, as far as he was defining it, way back before we had any technology to image the brain. I mean, I think they technically could x-ray the brain, but what's that going to show you? Nothing. There's something in there. That's what it's going to show you. That's what an x-ray will show you about the brain. There's something in that case. Best of luck. So Dr. Asperger himself was not trying to go, oh, but these are special autistic people. No, the other terms did not exist. And he was merely trying to state that he saw a similar pattern of symptoms in some people. And that's what he was not trying to establish a superior autistic person. Oh my God. So, again, and that's also why we don't use the term high functioning and low functioning autistic person. But it is why we use the term autistic person rather than person with autism. Because since autism is there from birth, and that person's personality, who they are, would be different if they were not autistic, the autistic community has decided as a group that no, this is a defining feature of us, is we're autistic rather than we are a person with autism. Of like, you can't separate me from my autism.
Yeah.
So just things to be aware of, and just understand that, like, because it's humans, it means there's a bit of fluidity in there.
I think you have familiarity with that one.
I still have the coordination of a 3-year-old.
And that has to do with proprioception, myelinization of nerve cells. And again, just like, this is developmental. This is not something that was caused later in life. This is about how the nerves in the body developed as you grew up. It's not that, oh, you're a naughty person who refuses to be coordinated. You'd say, no, you just don't have as easy a time being coordinated as a quote-unquote typical person. It's the same reason why do we watch sports and we have Olympics, because some people have super coordination and it's fun to watch. Same with Cirque du Soleil.
Just to see what are humans capable of. Like, what are us as a species, what are some of our members of our species capable of doing? Oh,
but they're starting to recognize oftentimes these people, again, have things that are non-standard and allow them to be, above average human capacities.
Yes.
Just as there are things that keep some of us from having even standard capacities of balance.
Nia said the house has been bought, been remodeling, still wedding planning. Okay.
So much.
Good luck. You can make it.
But so that's also why we want to talk about
your sanity on the way out after the wedding.
Of like, there's a lot of things surprisingly that can help with the body if you know you need extra of it. For me, one of the most fascinating ones is, so we have a connective tissue disorder. Our body just doesn't make connective tissue as easily as typical. What it really ends up meaning for us, though, is that just we have to increase the amount of connective tissue we get from animal and to a lesser degree animal plant products by like 3 to 4 times as much as the average person, because our body's just really inefficient at processing it. Just like cats are inefficient at breaking down protein, so they need a lot more protein. We too need this connective tissue a lot more. and then it's not too bad.
Yeah. So, okay, so what we both have is Ehlers-Danlos. Pretty much everyone in the family has it because we actually got it from both of our sides of our family. I have 3 different kinds: hypermobile, classical, and vascular. Hence, you see the redness in my face, and this is part of cavernous hemangioma. So there's the 3 different kinds of collagen the human body makes for itself that it needs to make every bit of us, every bit of you, every bit of me. It requires, or we just be goo. If you've seen that particular X-Men movie, we just become goo without that. So, like, all of our cells need one of these 3, if not all 3 kinds of the collagen. Okay. So if we can consume various forms of connective tissue, like animal connective tissue, then our body can absorb some of it in the gut and then just use it for our collagen production. But also what our body needs for collagen production, period, what your body needs too, by the way, is vitamin C. That is why you see so many skincare products that are like, now with vitamin C, because the collagen types that your skin needs to regenerate, to replace cells, and to not age so fast, it needs vitamin C. And so there's a theory that if you could put it on your face, your skin can absorb it, and that it can then locally make collagen easier. Is this entirely true? It's so little vitamin C that your face can absorb, that any of your skin can absorb. But hey, there's a little bit, so it's not like a terrible idea. But be careful, since vitamin C also has a sun sensitizing effect on skin. And you don't want to sunburn, because that will give you more skin damage, which would set you back anyway. So again, it's like,
which kind of brings us to one of the subjects Gloria really wanted to bring up about this, and that was simple ways to determine quality of research for the body and nutrition. Because there is a lot out there, and sussing out what is quality from what is, for lack of a better word, farcical, to downright malicious in its design is tricky. It's not easy. It does take some skill. It's right there with, when you were doing research papers in school and they were trying to teach you how to tell if a source was, quality. So I believe this is the part you want to talk about, of tell me about the emotions.
So
tell me about engineers and scientists.
My personal rule of thumb for assessing news sources, or information sources for that matter, is, first off, if they're trying to get an emotional rise out by their wording, it's something to be aware of. So it doesn't mean that it's necessarily a totally false fake news source, but it means that they're trying to get a rise out of you. Why? Why do they want a rise? So it's something to be aware of. It's because they want something from you. Every time. Also, who is paying for this? And understand that everybody has their own perspective. And what is the one thing humans are definitely going to do is they're always going to protect their money source. So when you're thinking about and you're assessing news information, or what you think it's news, are they, like, it's one thing to have the headline that's kind of emotional. Everyone from the beginning of time always makes headlines more emotional. Because how else will the person pick up your pamphlet that the traveling Gutenberg press has come through and is offering for like a halfpenny or whatever? So everybody has an emotional or an eye-grabbing headline. Okay. But once you look at the print, is it still, they're coming to take your children or your jobs or your guns or, I don't know, your money, whatever? If this alarmist kind of thing, rather than, hey, we have a problem and we need to address it, and here is my 100-point plan on how to address it. Like, 100-point plan, y'all, it's okay. Look, Martin Luther, it's boring. Okay, like that sounds like a lot of work. But again, he's not trying to like grab your children and your wives, get all your cabbage. The Pope is coming to take your cabbage. You know, like, no. It's the Pope has lied to us, and here's all my reasons, and this is why I've started Protestantism. Because he lied. Where is my apocalypse? I was promised the end of the world. There is no end of the world. They insisted for the last 150 years that all the dukedoms and principalities of Germany give all this extra money, and we live this very meager lifestyle. And we have for 150 years, we've all been getting ready for the end of the world. And guess what? 1500 rolled around, and the world is still here. Here's my shit list. I am mad. And if you're mad too, have you tried Lutheranism? It's like Catholicism, but less lies. Okay. All right, Martin, you may be saying this, but is it in fact like Catholicism, but less lies? Let me assess. Because again, what is Martin getting out of this? Is he just mad, or is he also, starting a new treasury? Something to be aware of like, who is paying for this and where are they getting the money from? As you may have heard, all news sources right now in America are owned by people with special interests. There's hardly any group owned news sources anymore. I mean, like when I was growing up, there were still some left. And there were a ton from like the late 1800s into the 1900s, but they've slowly closed up shop. And now it's all owned by incredible wealthy billionaires. And they all have an agenda. So it is something to be aware of. So, I mean, I just brought it up because it's this fascinating, like, little historical time period. The Germans were so sure the apocalypse was going to come and it was going to end the world. So for 150 years or so, almost 200 years, they really tried to be very good little Germans. And then 1500 rolled around and they were like, where is our apocalypse? Promises were made.
And they lived an ascetic lifestyle.
They lived a very stringent lifestyle. A lot of bad beds, y'all. And they were like, I suffered for all of this, and then the world has not ended. Promises were made. Promises were not kept. We mad. And legitimate. Because the Pope had, in fact, turned out the Vatican had been manipulating the Germans, and that's a whole nother matter. But anyway, it did end up uniting Germany into Germany, so that's fascinating. So yes, the Vatican is responsible for the Nazis. If you really want to like take that down. Anyway, I'm kidding. Please don't get mad at me. I'm just kidding. It's a historical joke. So, but anyhow, when you're assessing news information, also, are they trying to say magic? If you just do these things and give us your money, magic will happen. And again, I want to point out, no. There is no magic, unless you're talking about the magic of smiles and puppy dog tails. Puppy dog tails are amazing, but they will not get you profit. They're just lovely.
I mean, that's...
Kitten whiskers. They're great. And who doesn't love them? Unless you're allergic. I get it.
But the only independent sort of news sources right now are, some of the YouTube bloggers, for the most part, as far as we know, seem fairly independent. And, like, that's That's part of where you see NFTs have dropped, because there was a concerted effort among about a dozen or more of them to research and find out what's going on behind the scenes. And they started showing how all these strings were being pulled for NFTs and the false values people were putting on them. And that these were people in power with a lot of money who were just trying to make more money off of people without much.
It was a pyramid scheme.
Yep. It was a Ponzi scheme.
It was a scam. Also, NFTs are terrible for the environment. So, again, where is the good?
And there's literally no value generated by them. So again, it's already there's a lot of questionable, but yeah, where you saw a dozen people come together who had enough influence and could reach enough people to essentially do what newspapers used to do of, hey, we researched, we found out the real culprits behind this. Here's who they are. Here's what they did. Here's how they did it.
Now, look, I get that later you're going to be like, wait, oh God, what did they say about how to spot misinformation? And the answer is, my sweet, sweet summer children, just Google it. How to determine misinformation, how to spot fake news, whatever. Just Google it and look at the little pretty pictures. We know you love pictures. I know who you are. Big red flags for fake news, all caps, obviously Photoshop pics, a glut of pop-ups and banner ads. A good sign the story is pure clickbait. Check the domain. Fake sites often add .co to trusted brands to steal their luster. Think abcnews.com.co. If you land on an unknown site, check its about page. Then Google it with the word fake and see what comes up. Or controversy. That's another one you can...
I love CB's way. If you see it on Facebook first.
Yeah. Oh, baby. Do not listen to Facebook. All they want is your emotions. They harvest your emotions. That is what pays the Facebook bills.
And hello, Carrie.
Hello, Carrie. If a story offers links, follow them. Garbage leads to worse garbage. No links, quotes, or references. Another telltale sign. Verify an unlikely story by finding a reputable outlet reporting the same thing. If only one news source is reporting this article on the entire internet, that is so sus. Check the date. Social media often resurrects outdated stories. Read past headlines. Often they bear no resemblance to what lies beneath. That's right, it's just a title. Photos may be misidentified and dated. Use a reverse image search engine like TinEye to see where an image really comes from. And gut check. If a story makes you angry, it's probably designed that way. And finally, if you're not sure it's true, don't share it. Don't share it. Don't share it. So what we do instead is we look for articles that are talking about science news and that specifically cite the actual journal article, that it was published. Now, there are plenty of essentially news aggregate sites that all they are doing is they are going through science journal publications and they are writing articles about anything kind of interesting, anything breaking news. Does this necessarily mean that that is a reputable study? No. Also, by the way, there's a wonderful website I believe it's called Retraction Watch. And they just keep track of all the stuff that made breaking news and then is retracted later. Oh, let me tell you, it is so controversial. They have had the scientists who initially set up this website have personally had other scientists try to dox them on the internet, try to hack them, and all sorts of stuff. And it's like, you idiots. Don't you know we can actually look up your IPs? So that's how you know it gets to them. Because there are people keeping track of their bad science. And yes, there's bad science. Y'all, there's humans. Wherever there are humans, you're going to have humans doing naughty things. Science is not free of bad actors. It's just how it is. Anywhere where there are humans, there are bad actors. If it's a golden retriever only place, it's probably all good. But since we're not having scientific research performed by golden retrievers, therefore, I'm going to still evaluate it. So there is a study that recently, oh my God, I read this article and I had to read parts of it out loud to Tom. It's the one about the fish, Tom. About consumption of fish.
Oh, yes.
And increased risk of melanoma. And I was just like, I'm sorry, what? So here, use your logic. So here it was. And it was like a large study of nearly 500,000 people.
Over 15 years.
15, years of their fish consumption. And they found that among people who ate, hi, Charlie. Or what is it? Charlie. Among people who ate, what was it? It was tuna or unfried fish.
More than, I think it was like 15 grams a day.
It was the equivalent of one serving of tuna and one serving of other non-fried fish a week. They had an increased risk of over 20% higher rate of melanoma diagnosis. Something very serious. But, they asked a third question on these surveys, and they were like, how much fried fish do you eat? And what they found was there was no correlation between people who had fried fish and skin cancer diagnosis. And that was our clue this was bad science. Because, y'all, while we both love catfish, and we love cod, and we love tilapia, and any other white fish that fried, oh, yes. Give me some salmon tempura. Y'all, 0 increase in skin cancer diagnoses among people who eat fried fish. There is nothing about deep frying fish that removes all the dioxin and other heavy metals. There is nothing about it. And that is what clued us into bad science.
They're like, and you'll see you'll see the article because it's just making its rounds now.
Yeah, it's
about how eating fish, the recommended amount of fish or more every week increases your chances of cancer. And I love at the end there was the scientist response to the study finding is they think it's the contaminants in fish that are causing this increase, and it's like no, it's not, because
your science is bad because part of the article talks about, or one of the articles I read, the actual research talks about the questions they did ask and that they regularly asked the participants. In no way did they ask about socioeconomic status. So here's a fun thing. The wealthy, the upper class, upper middle class, are both far more likely to consume non-fried fish, i.e. salmon, like baked things and sushi, than they are to consume fried fish, which tends to be made of cheaper fish. You're not going to find a fried swordfish restaurant here, okay? You're not going to find that, but you know what you're not even going to find, really any of those large or expensive fish deep fried. What you are going to find fried is catfish, cod sometimes, but cod's very expensive these days. Other just general whitefish, what I think of as unidentified whitefish. You're going to find, and poor people eat that. And let's be honest, if you are upper class, upper middle class, on the weekends, you probably actually have free time. You're going to go out and enjoy the world, the sun. Working class people do not have that option. Working class people do not get out in the sun for recreational purposes for the most part, especially not in the 21st century where we're just all living in a dystopia. So again, yeah, that was the clue. And yes, Charlie, it was all tuna as long as it was not deep fried. So from the can, frozen, all of the above. And it is something, so now they're actually recommending not to consume more than 1 to 2 servings of fish a week. But I want to point out, as long as you're not eating albacore tuna, which comes from larger fish, as long as you're just what is it, flake chunk light?
Yeah, chunk light tuna.
Chunk light tuna, that is coming from smaller fish, and that is safer to consume, even though I know, like, our stepfather loves albacore so much. But it does have higher heavy metal amounts because the larger the fish, the more time it has had to accumulate heavy metals and other chemicals, poisons, pesticides, and so on that end
also
up
the higher
in the
up
ocean.
on. Also, it's higher up on the what do you call it? Scale. You know, the
Food chain.
Food chain, and so things are concentrating more in it. Versus small fish are much lower on the food chain.
So, for instance, sardines, a safer food to eat than, say, even sushi salmon, because sushi salmon and sushi tuna are coming from much larger fish than like the little sardines you get canned, and other little fish like, oh, those wonderful little, remember the deep fried Korean ones that they deep fry that smell so much, and then they toss it in chili oil. Oh my God, they're so crunchy and delicious. On rice is so good, y'all. Like, yeah, just close your eyes and don't let their little faces look at you when you eat them. That's how I eat them. I can't. Their little faces are like, why? Why did you toss me in chili oil? But it's like, they're so good. We all have our burden to bear. But yeah, the littler the fish, the less time it has had in this world to eat other little fish and then accumulate all the chemicals, pesticides, heavy metals that fish contained. So you want to eat smaller fish when you eat fish. It's just something to keep in mind. Yes, mercury is among the heavy metals. It's not the only heavy metal in question when it comes to fish eating. But yeah, now they're recommending not to eat more than 2 servings fish. And I know I love a good tuna like salad. You know, when I'm in the mood, it's like I just want to eat like 3-4 sandwiches in a week. But must resist urge.
And if you're just doing that like once or twice a year, it's fine.
And let me tell you, salmon skin sushi, when it because they're deep frying the salmon skin, it's so crispy, crunchy. That's some crack right there. It's so good. But again, it's just a sometime food. It's not an always food, because it turns out, yes, the skin cancer is real, and I don't want any of y'all to be taken by melanoma. That is a wild cancer. Beautiful crab legs. Everything's crabs, y'all. Everything becomes crabs. I love tilapia too.
But yeah, we wanted to talk about like how to tell if it's a decent study. Another part of a good nutrition study is that they are making comparisons within the same group. So like when I was growing up in the 90s, the Mediterranean diet, it's going to save all of us. You'll be so healthy on the Mediterranean diet. People around the Mediterranean share no life in common with the US. There is no direct comparison between people around the Med and people around in the United States.
I mean, Thomas speaking, having been to both Greece and Albania, of like, these lifestyles are nothing like American lifestyle.
And then watching a ton of Rick Steves just to back it up. And so studies comparing the outcomes of these two don't mean much, because those lives they had were all different across every aspect of their life.
So, including the pollution levels, how is
water quality?
The water quality. How about how close people are living to each other? Because here is something we now know because of the unfortunate situation in Edinburgh, Scotland, has created an environment by which scientists and doctors have been studying the effects of humans living very close to each other for decades, and they have found that when humans, not even like living like in the same housing unit, but like say apartment complex, like I'm living within, like I can hear through the walls at least 10 other people. Like I'm surrounded by people. Just living close to other humans is incredibly stressful for humans. So it has to do with how many humans live in a square mile or a square acre. And essentially, the more densely packed humans' living conditions are, even when, yes, everybody has room and they're stacked up vertically rather than horizontally, it's still very stressful for humans. And it causes humans unconsciously to release a lot of cortisol. What is cortisol? Cortisol is a byproduct of adrenaline. It is a stress hormone. It prematurely ages organs. It'll prematurely age your skin. It'll prematurely age your heart. It'll prematurely age your liver, everything you got, honey. It'll age your red blood cells so they're less effective at even moving oxygen and moving carbon dioxide out of your body. So there is an issue with humans just living too densely packed together. We cannot handle essentially being herded like cattle. It's just super stressful for us as humans. And it's something to be consciously aware of in some of these studies of, well, where this study was, what pool were they pulling from? Were they pulling from cities where people are living much closer together? Or were they pulling from places with lots of countryside? A lot of the Mediterranean actually is relatively spread out, living condition wise. They're not that densely packed, and the buildings aren't necessarily very tall. Like, I mean, of course, in the big city, Athens, Sparta, wherever. I can't remember anymore cities in Greece. But, in general, if they're more spread out, you're going to see different health comes. So that's why, like, you always hear them talking about, oh, people in Okinawa live so long, in southern Japan. That's because overall they living condition wise, they're spread out a lot more, and development has not allowed them to build up as much.
And their true longevity is highly questionable because the record keeping is really poor, but it pays to be an older person. So it pays to take over your parents' retirement when they pass away and stick with it no matter what people ask you.
So it's things to be aware of in these studies, like, for instance, the Mediterranean diet. Now, look, there are certain aspects of the Mediterranean diet that are wonderful, such as, yes, please eat plant fiber.
Fresh vegetables in general.
Fresh fruits and vegetables are wonderful. All that lovely fiber in your fresh fruits and vegetables. If your gut can handle whole grains, that too, it's wonderful. It's really good for you. But it's not going to give you some miracle cure because you don't live in the Mediterranean and you don't live in Okinawa.
And another recent one we've seen where studies have been contradicted decades later as we now learn more because the originals were not that good quality and did not account for what we might now consider obvious. Just since I saw Aeneas here, is that African Americans have a higher tendency towards heart disease. It's not actually necessarily that just being African American increases your chance towards heart disease. Where do most African Americans, especially in these studies, live? They live in housing projects.
Yeah, in urban settings.
Under very high stress environments.
Primarily very low income. And that they do not have access to farming options, i.e. they don't have a backyard or anywhere to grow fruits and vegetables. Like often there's no community garden nearby where they can participate in it. And they tend to be working odd shifts, which again, we know that interrupting people's sleep schedule is incredibly stressful. It does not matter your genetic background. It's just, it will prematurely age any human being to have their sleep schedule messed with regularly.
Versus if we see African Americans or just people of African descent in other locations where it is not as extremely high stress from multiple ways, you don't see that much difference in health outcomes. All of a sudden, a lot of that stuff disappears.
Yeah, it's just more like if you put anybody in that living condition, more than likely they would be more stressed. And stress is a killer, y'all.
Because you know who's got
Stress
the
is a
same
serious
health
problem.
outcomes as African Americans were supposed to in the 80s and 90s? People in Edinburgh.
Let me tell you about people in Edinburgh. And believe me, almost all of them are white.
Really, really Western European
They've
white.
got similar crime rates, similar socioeconomic troubles. They are living similarly as far as human to square acreage, where it's highly densely packed. And guess what? They got very similar amounts of diabetes and heart disease and all these diseases caused by generalized inflammation. And what is generalized inflammation? Well, one of the ways you can cause generalized inflammation is stress. Just stress, y'all. And it's not like any one thing is stressing you out. It's just that it's a little stressful to live near that many people you don't know and who don't know you and are not looking out for you. It's stressful to essentially be around strangers. If you know them all, that's not so stressful. If they all know your name and they know what foods you like and you know what foods they like and y'all all dropping food off for each other all the dang time, that's a community. That's a village. Whether your village is vertical or horizontal, same. That's not stressful because you feel like people are looking out for you. People are keeping track of you. They care whether you live or die. But when you're living around that much densely packed strangers, it is stressful for human beings. Period. No matter your genetic background, it's just stressful. And so that's, again, it's poor nutritional science not pointing out the socioeconomics of the people participating in the study.
And that's why in the nutrition science that has any validity to me, I like seeing them study the same area, the same locality, but with just two different, also same socioeconomics, just two different preferences in this, same health. So like, people who like yogurt and people who are lactose intolerant and don't like yogurt even.
Right.
So obviously they're not getting the same kind of milk products.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can actually see what's the difference in these nutritional effects.
Mm-hmm. And health outcomes.
But two different parts of the world, there's so many variables you can't account for. And that you don't even realize is a variable. All right, I think it is time for us to go on a break.
All righty.
When we come back, we'll talk about some of the fun vitamins and supplements we found that you may not realize you need and that doctors not always very good at testing for.
Sure. All right. Tom, get your butt out here.
I'm coming. I'm coming. Well, CB had to go. Hopefully she'll be feeling better since she's dealing with Miss Rona.
It's not an easy place to be.
But yeah, I want to talk about
any surveys up, Tom. Polls.
What?
I'm surprised you haven't put any polls up.
Haven't been able to think of any.
Kat, you got any polls? Do you take vitamins? How about that? Yes, no.
Do you take vitamins? Do you take probiotics?
Well, you can only vote one thing.
But you could, well, if you have... Hello, voto.
Some talk.
I got one.
Okay. Yeah, during the break, I pulled up my phone so I could vote, and there's nothing to vote on.
Oh, but I was saying, you have 4 options. So you can do one where, you can do one that's like you take both. Or none.
True. You take vitamins, you take probiotics, you take vitamins and probiotics, or none. Hello, Kat.
Hi. I ate my food.
Very nice.
I might have eaten a bowl and a half a bowl.
Cool.
Might not end well. But it's fine.
Here, Glory. I know our crowd.
Okay. All right.
Yep, we would.
I'm like, you better let me vote.
One Flintstone to rule them all.
Poll is up, y'all. If you don't see it in the chat, refresh your screen.
But
Hi, Allie Unicorn.
Still counts.
Hey.
Still count. Well, I mean, I guess if you take a hard one, it would be Flintstones, wouldn't it?
But if you take vitamins and probiotics, then it just covers the whole
just, yeah.
I take a little of everything.
Actually, my probiotic has vitamin D in it.
Very nice.
Look at you. Well, actually, that was the next one I kind of want to talk about.
Grandma sent it to me.
Is vitamin D, which to me is fascinating. In part because I came of age when they were just starting to recognize osteoporosis was disproportionate in women. And so they kept saying, get more calcium. Except they did not see much effect in older women taking calcium with their osteoporosis.
Mm-hmm.
And so what it has all eventually turned around to is it's not so much that women aren't getting enough calcium. We're Americans. We eat a lot. We're actually getting a decent amount of calcium.
We love cheese. We're getting the cheese.
Yes. Getting the cheese, getting the yogurt,
even
the ice cream.
Intolerant folks are getting the cheese.
Yeah. What they're not getting enough, because we're inside so much and because we don't want wrinkles, is we're not getting enough vitamin D. And what is vitamin D? We actually have some very interesting talks with doctors about this one. So you get vitamin D by bombarding cholesterol with UV. Your dog, all animals with fur, lick themselves in part to spread cholesterol that comes out from to help moisturize their skin. They lick it onto their fur and then lick it off their fur after it's been exposed to the sun, and that's how they get vitamin D.
So when they're licking you, they're trying to help you. It may be that you're not getting enough vitamin D, and they're trying to help you with the licking, since you are obviously a dumb human and you don't know enough. They're having to raise you by licking.
But that is how animals with fur get vitamin D versus humans don't, because we have so little fur. But if you're wearing long sleeves and sunblock all the time, you may still not be getting enough. Or, and here's the part they don't talk about, with older adults, if you're taking statins to reduce your cholesterol. Less cholesterol means less vitamin D. And why do you need vitamin D so much? Because vitamin D is what puts calcium back in your bones. Your body can take out calcium whenever it needs. You got this giant storehouse of calcium in your body.
So, if you have lower cholesterol numbers, you are also more susceptible to not having enough vitamin D, because you're not circulating enough cholesterol in your bloodstream. That it's getting the cholesterol, like it's running the cholesterol through your skin.
Yep. So, like, that's, and women with low amounts of vitamin D are also prone to depressive-like symptoms.
I don't like
2/3 of all women who have depression have some nutritional deficit.
Okay, so let's go over the stats we know about women in depression again. We're just like, let's add. So we know that a third, it's actually like 35% of all women who go to any doctor for depression-like symptoms, turns out something's off with their thyroid, either hyper or hypo. And then now, and we also know that among women who go to see a doctor for depression-like symptoms, 2/3 have inadequate amounts of vitamin D circulating in their system as well.
And that the depressive symptoms will go away.
Let's let that sink in.
Yeah.
That, yes, I mean, there are some women who have legitimate depression. Absolutely. Make no mistake. Please see your doctor. But also get tested when you're at your doctor. This is the time to, like, if they're already drawing blood, as they are probably sure to be drawing blood, if you're a woman, they're also probably going to have you pee in a cup. Because if you're a woman, did you know, you can have hallucinations or depression-like symptoms from a UTI or pregnancy. Like, it is not easy being a female is like, as a fetus, you chose the advanced game level and you'd never played this game before.
Although, really, if you know of anyone, male or female, that is losing their mind, and you're just like, oh my God, I didn't know dementia hit that early. Have them go pee on a stick and check for a UTI. No kidding. This is standard medical procedure now in American hospitals. If they are scanning your brain, you must also be tested at the same time.
Male or female or any gender at all.
Any gender, for if you have a UTI, because UTIs will cause symptoms of, you know, for lack of a better phrase, insanity. If you acting crazy, you might
could just be a UTI.
Yeah, seriously.
Doesn't matter your, gender you're assigned at birth. It could just be a UTI. Especially if, like, your family doesn't have a history of that particular flavor of batshit insane. It very well could just be a UTI. So imagine what life was like before antibiotics, y'all. People just having to put up with people just raving in the streets because they just had a UTI. Every person who ever has said to me when I was a child, oh, I should have been born in somewhere in the history, the past, is like, now I wish I could go back and go, you are full of crap. Because if you're talking about before good new antibiotics are available, no. You could die of a sinus infection and you could just be raving in the streets with a UTI, y'all. And you could get a UTI having never had any kind of happy fun time contact with other humans.
Yeah, they have actually been
You
studying
could get a
this.
UTI from kidney stones. And what is it? Something like 80% of all humans will pass a kidney stone at some point in their life.
Yep. But also speaking of that, I was listening to an interview with a lady doctor, lady parts doctor specifically, rather.
Are you talking about a gynecologist or an OBGYN?
Yeah. I don't remember if she was just a gynecologist or she was an OBGYN or not.
I mean, it's adorable, but go on. Next time, at least say Lady Garden doctor.
The Lady Gardener.
It was a gardener doctor to take care of lady parts. Lady Gardener.
And she was saying, like, all the research from the last decade has pretty much come out that there is only a very small correlation between women having fun with men and UTIs. For the most part, it's just your body and how it feels. UTIs tend to run in families. Of like, just it could be your genetics that make you more predisposed.
And it's not necessarily because you like bubble baths.
Yeah.
When in the 80s, they used to say, oh, you get a UTI from bubble baths. For reals. Which is true. I always got a bubble, like every time Mr. Bubble gave me so many UTIs, but not Calgon. And not Dawn dishwashing soap or Joy. Lemon Joy was my favorite, other than I felt like I was dishes in the bathtub. I felt like
just a bit.
But like Joy never gave me a UTI, but Mr. Bubbles brand.
Mr. Bubbles every time.
Who remembers Mr. Bubbles?
And then of course, for whatever reason, Crystal Light.
Yes, Crystal Light will give me UTI so fast. Okay, I'm pulling it up because I want you all to recognize Mr. Bubbles. He's the devil. This wants. Oh, I didn't mean to click on that. I wanted this. Look at his face. He's just here to give me a UTI.
But like they have noticed, like there are specific chemicals that can cause this, but they don't notice it as much from procreation.
In Mr. Bubbles' defense, and this is the only defense I'm going to give Mr. Bubbles, as long as I rinsed after my bubble bath, I didn't get a UTI. So my parents bought, it was like a shower head you could actually put over the bathtub faucet. And, I could just rinse all that down there. And then I didn't get a UTI. So, okay, look, it's like, I'm not saying Mr. Bubbles should go to hell. Well, maybe a little bit, but just a little hell, maybe heck. Mr. Bubbles can go to heck. But yes, every single time I ever had a Mr. Bubbles bubble bath, even at other people's houses, I'd get a UTI as a kid. Oh God, they were raging horrible. Anyway, I know nobody asked.
But yeah, like, so that sort of gets us onto another of my favorite subjects when it comes to supplements and general body health: probiotics.
By the way, Tom, I think that we should make room. Kat came here to make a specific PSA. I know why you're here. Where's the more you know? Where's the more you know banner? Now we want it nice for Kat. There it is. Look, I had to work really hard to get that little star, okay? I had to look up codes.
I'll just go copy and paste it.
I don't need you to come here with this violence. Okay. Just be grateful.
I will Google it and then copy and paste.
Look, you have admin privileges. You want to make things better anytime. Please feel free to get in my business. I've already given you admin rights. So.
I know she doesn't look it, but she has the mind of an old person.
Screw you both. Metaphorically.
Yes, I'm specifically here to be like, hey, if you're sick, and you not getting better. Like, say you have chronic diarrhea. Go to the effing doctor. Because you might find out that you have, like, a chronic illness. You might find out, like, your colon is inflamed. Or maybe you should stop eating certain foods, maybe. Like, because now everything is, like, my really bad duplication that I had. But sometimes, like, you have to go to a doctor because, like, you don't realize you might have an intolerance to some food that you never had an intolerance to before. Or you're developing an allergy. I know somebody that in their 40s, they developed an allergy to nuts. And they didn't know it. And they were eating, like, handfuls of nuts. And it basically gave them explosive diarrhea.
Whew.
Yeah. And then they found out they had developed an allergy. So, and you can develop an allergy at any point in your life. So it's not just like, right, like, you're sick. It might be something like you're allergic to something. So also keep track of, like, hey, I have explosive diarrhea when I am, like, at work. And what did I eat? Like, but not on this day when I was at work. What was different about these two things? But don't put off going to the doctor. Like, a week or two, go to the doctor. Like, if something doesn't get better, please
And
go.
that's pretty much what all doctors will tell you is, you know what, the body has cycles and it has little problems. Stuff happens for a couple days. Okay, that's an acute. If things don't get better after a week, start to take notes and schedule with your doctor. If it's been 2 weeks, you really need to go see someone because
Yeah.
your body should have handled that.
Also, if you go see a doctor and they're like, meh, go to another doctor. If your, like, intuition, your gut or the back of your head is like, this isn't normal, something's wrong. Go see someone who listens and is like, let's go run some tests. And then if those tests come back fine and the doctor's not like, let's run new tests, go to another doctor. Guess what? All doctors are not created equally competent. And they'll cover up their incompetency with diffidence. So just go see a different doctor. And I know that's easier said than done since we're talking to a neurodivergent community. It's already super stressful for us since, let's be honest, a lot of doctors are neurotypical and they're already going to gaslight us.
Also, go see with someone else. Never go see a doctor alone.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But also, like, if something is legitimately wrong and they can fix it with just, like, an antibiotic, or, like, we'll give you this prescription for, like, 2 months and it will whatever, or, like, it's a simple fix, you'd rather pay that doctor bill if you don't have insurance than, oh shoot, I'm in the hospital. Because
I love all the lurkers.
like,
I like how many lurkers we're getting from the music group. Or like before we start talking music, let's hear what Gloria and Tom are ranting about.
Yeah. But anyway,
so for, like, Carrie pushed off the swelling in her leg and got used to it, but her mom figured, like, and now Carrie has to wear compression socks and I think take different medication.
Yes. Yeah. Well, also, Carrie, like, has talked about, like, having to take blood thinners and really finding out by accident. And so lucky that her clot started in her leg rather than elsewhere where it could have been deadly.
Yeah.
And not knowing she needed to take blood thinners before that, because how would you, like unfortunately, like I really think it should be tested. That various things, especially again, if you're a woman, should really be tested.
And like another thing of so Carrie had DVTs, and that's why she's on the blood thinners.
And
Our friend Everett also, in part, just lost a lot of energy and everything because. So the reason humans don't stroke out before they're 20, like all humans, is because of the way our circulatory system's designed. If you do develop blood clots before they reach your brain, they go through your lungs, and your lung catches them. Well,
it's not a great system.
Sometimes your body makes way too much of these little blood clots, and then you don't actually absorb as much oxygen. And that's also a problem. So when you're just like, I don't have any energy, again, go see a doctor. They may, test your blood oxygen level and go, why is it not above 95%? What else is going on?
Do you want to also point out, look, y'all, I realize we're talking about things that cost money, and I'm so sorry for that. But again, you can now get a fairly decent blood oxygen monitor for around $20. And if you are of a darker skin tone, you'll need to do it at least 3 times and make sure that all 3 of the blood oxygen number is like roughly the same. Just because it turns out the oximeters are slightly racist. I'm so sorry. But it's just one of these of, check it 3 to 5 times. Like let it get in and let that for 30 seconds to check and then do it again. Like let it clear out and do it at least 3 to 5 times, no matter your skin tone. But if you are of a darker skin tone, probably more like 5 times, just to make sure you're not getting any false good numbers when in fact it's not doing well. But at $20 for these little guys.
Oh, sorry.
It will take care of like making sure that you're not just fatigued because you didn't sleep well, but in fact you're fatigued because something is not right with your lungs. You need oxygen. Because let me tell you, the first symptom of low blood oxygen is not thinking clearly. This is so bad. And I say this as somebody who ended up in the ICU because I kept telling Tom, no, it's fine. I just need to sleep it off. Because the first symptom of sepsis is brain fog. So again, for $20, for the low, low price of this little cutie, you could save your own life, or you could go to a friend's house and stick it on their little finger and make sure it's just they're not feeling well and not that they're making bad choices because their brain is starved of oxygen.
And there's a lot of different reasons that your blood oxygen could be low, because also if you're having a great deal of mucus, it will also cover the alveoli and you just won't get as much. Like, don't assume it's just one thing. And that's why
there's so many reasons your lungs could not be performing well.
And that's again why I say if it's a 1 or 2 or 3 day thing, okay, it's something that went through your body, it dealt with it. If it's been more than a week, you really need to think about a doctor. If it's been more than 2 weeks, which doctor are you seeing?
Or if your blood oxygen is 93% or lower, you do not wait.
Yeah.
You call your doctor. If your blood oxygen is 90 or lower, you do not even call. You get your little happy butt. You get somebody to drive you because you are not safe to drive because you're intoxicated with a lack of oxygen.
And we had a friend literally pull that where Gloria's like, well, what's your blood oxygen? Like, I haven't checked it today.
It's like, get the machine out. Yes, I had gotten them to purchase it like months before.
And it's like, so what is it? And was it 90 or 87? I can't remember.
It was, I thought it was like, it was like 88, 87, like something like that. Cause they just left it on.
And it was, now while I'm here, do you want me to
we were actually like in one of these, StreamYard, but like backstage to have a conversation that we don't live in the same town anymore. And it was like, I will wait here on this, private stream while you call your doctor right now. And then after that, you call your wife.
And in part, and they're like, no, I'm fine. Like, and again,
No.
like that brain fog is real.
Oh my God.
Because
But yeah, and I know that
the
because I
blood oxygen was
experienced it.
up, they were like, oh God, you were right.
The first symptom of having low blood oxygen, which is 94% or lower, is that you are no longer making sound decisions other than, I don't think I'm okay. But it's probably nothing. It's like the very first thing your brain is going to do. And that's why, and I cannot recommend these little $20 cuties enough, is look, let's not have a conversation with a person who may be doped out on too little oxygen. So they're sort of punch drunk. Let's not have that conversation. Just stick it on their finger and find out. And if it's like 93 or lower, it's like, oh, let's do it one more time just to check. You leave it on, you make sure it registers, and you leave it at least 30 seconds and then see what it is. If it continues to be low, it's like, we calling your doctor. If it's below 90, we're not calling, we're going right now.
Also, it helps to have that around so
Yes.
that if you have a concerned housemate, you don't have to get out of bed.
While you're sleeping, sneak into your room and stick it on your sleepy finger. Just to make sure you're alive and okay. Cannot recommend this enough. It's $20 peace of mind. Not sponsored. I wish I was, but I just love these little guys. These guys used to cost $150 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm not like this brand's actually pretty good. I got it off Amazon. But again, just take simple battery and like you will get peace of mind knowing it is okay. Or as Carrie and Kat have pointed out, some phones have a fitness app that you actually put your finger over one of the lenses, whatever you got, and it will tell you what your blood ox is. Not all phones though can do that. Just be aware, but it may be worth it. You could save $20 and not have to go check yourself. You could just, oh, it turns out I have an app for it. Okay, cool.
And sometimes it's just in the fitness app and you just have to turn it on. You just have to look at the compatibility with your specific phone. Like my new phone, you can't do it with, but my old phone, which was a highly expensive phone, you can do it.
And like one of the things is it's hard sometimes for me, a neurodivergent person, to really be consciously aware that I am dealing with asthma in that moment. Because the tightness is and the wheezing, I have ADHD. Do you know how much I can ignore little annoying sounds sometimes, especially if they're coming from my general direction? A lot. I could easily ignore it. I've been ignoring me for decades. But I stick this little blood ox guy on, and it's like, oh, my blood ox is only 95%. I need to get up my rescue inhaler. Oh, and y'all, within literally 5 minutes, like, oh, I know, I didn't realize it till now, but now that it's gone, I did feel like I was breathing through a McDonald's straw. And now that the inhaler is working, it feels like I'm freely breathing. I had somehow forgotten what that felt like. So again, cannot recommend these little guys enough. Or if your phone has the app, that's wonderful. But take the guesswork out and just scientifically measure, because why tax your brain to determine when you have brain fog from inadequate amounts of oxygen?
And that, I feel maybe that should bring up also I didn't bring it at the very beginning of this show, but so why are we bringing all of this up? Why did I come up with the title this show has? Why is this the big secret of best-selling authors? And it's because best-selling authors...
What'd you say, Kat?
If you're healthy, you do stuff.
Yes.
Oh, say it to the people in the back can hear, Kat.
But I mean, but the best-selling authors, the ones who have turned this into a career, know that their health directly determines how much they can write. This whole suffering artist, Van Gogh did not paint those paintings we love of Van Gogh when he was in bad health. He painted them when he was feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
The comic books and the stories are all when people were doing better.
Yes.
They made those. They may have been based on some rough times in their life.
Right.
But they didn't make the art till they were feeling better.
Harry, you're killing me here.
And so if we want, as we're trying to build a group
right.
of people who all get published, we need you to be healthy.
Yeah. So I did on my podcast I did an episode which I had to record several times because the first time I tried to record it there was 45 minutes of me crying.
Aw.
Because like I actually talked about everything that had happened since like
Yeah.
March. But like it also like your health, your physical and your mental health, which your physical health affects your mental health and your mental health affects your physical health. So like get the both checked out. I basically the last time that I actually wrote anything was that very first weekend in April. And I was already sick. Like, I'm pretty sure I already was having the chronic diarrhea. Because if you remember, I just kept disappearing.
Yep.
A lot during streams.
Even when we weren't on a sprint, and you weren't waiting for the sprint either, which normally.
Normally I would, but I could not. And so my physical health like sapped my creativity in general. And I think I've said this before. I might have said it on one of these streams, but I know I've said it on my own streams and Coffee Bunny. So fan fiction, like writing it, is a form of like self-care for me.
Yes.
Like it is a form of mental health self-care for me.
Absolutely.
I did not write any fan fiction during that time. And like normally, minimum once a month, I do work on a fanfic. And it's a form of mental health self-care.
Right.
And I had no creativity. Like I think last week or the week before, I said something about like I read a bunch of fan fiction. That was the first time I had read fan fiction in weeks.
And you love reading fan fiction.
I love.
It's the reason we stopped meeting before Coffee Bunny for an hour before, and now we only meet for a half hour before, was because you were already reading fan fiction anyway, and you weren't stopping. So I'm like, why show up now? I'm just staring at myself. I'll show up at 2. So just because you read fan fiction, it's like, here, I'm not trying to cut into your fan fiction reading time.
And so how I ended up describing it was I felt nothing about writing fan fiction, reading fan fiction, and also my own like original writing. And I was like, how can I feel blank? Like it was like this, and I realized most of this when I was like recording the episode and like thinking what I was going to say for the episode, that I have never just had no feeling towards something like that. Because I have been writing fan fiction since I was 14, and publishing it. But I was probably also writing and jotting down stories before that. So for me to have been like, I'm finally actually starting to think about my book again, like actually in like the characters and stuff. Because like I would try to work on it, and then it just like I'd stare at it like, I feel nothing towards you.
Yeah, like you can't think of anything because you feel like crap.
So there's a reason for that we've just been talking about. Like there's a direct reason, especially for you, because we know what's been the cause of this.
Yes.
And that is, so they've now been doing studies again the last 2 decades, and they have found out most of your serotonin and a decent amount of your dopamine come from your stomach's brain and your gut. Like it's actually produced there and then utilized in the brain. So if your GI is not doing well, you will not have the serotonin to decide how much emotional excitement you have, which is what you need to make memories.
Something like 75-80% of serotonin is made in your gut, and half of all your dopamine is manufactured in your gut as well.
And if you don't have
your
dopamine,
gut ain't happy, you are not fully functioning.
Yeah.
Just how it
And you
is.
need, and so you need the serotonin to decide your excitement level, or the ability to have excitement levels and remember things. And then you need the dopamine to reinforce and enjoy the activities that you're doing. And if your gut's not doing well, you ain't going to get either.
Right.
Yeah, like my entire colon being inflamed, which apparently is rare for the entire thing to be inflamed.
You know, if you're going to come in
And I
with a
had
rare condition,
like
might as well go all-star.
Right? Cat, the
Yeah.
overachiever. I said it.
and like my body was like, I had like I basically survived off popsicles. Like can almost guarantee that if I had not gotten fired when I got fired and gone to the doctor the next day, I would have ended up in the hospital.
Yeah.
Yep. Sounds about right. And like so that's why,
a
we're talking
nearly
about this.
terminal case of stubbornness.
Yep.
Something
Like so many
neurodivergent.
of our friends.
Stubbornness is actually a code word or a dog whistle for neurodivergence, y'all. So it's not something like, well, all neurodivergent people are stubborn and all stubborn people are neurodivergent. It is not that, but there is a Venn diagram.
And it's a very big middle.
And it's a very fat middle sliver. It's most of the pie.
I don't think it's a sliver at that point.
Yeah, it's a hefty
Chunk,
slice.
Section.
It's a chunky chunk.
It's most of it.
It's a chunky bit of the pie. Is stubbornness as a descriptor for neurodivergence, because it's not exactly willfulness. It's no, I got to keep going to work. I can't take time off. Look, I may be suffering, but that's not as important because the neurotypical world has trained us to devalue our own pain and discomfort and health for conforming to what the neurotypical world wants us to do.
So I'm wondering if I'm wondering if I might have a higher pain tolerance than I thought I did.
Quite possible and probable.
Because of how inflamed I was.
Mm-hmm.
And the GI doctor saying, after looking at my test results, which my CRP1, because I was looking at my test results, because I was like, what was that one again? My CRP1 was 58.991.
And it's normally in the single digits, isn't it?
0.1.0 to 3.0.
Yeah.
I was an acute phase response is 10, and I was 58.
Yes, you're way past needing to go see the doctor.
And
way past thinking about seeing the doctor. You were already in crisis and going, I'm fine. I'm going to still be here. And your body's like, oh no, we're about to collapse. No.
Yeah, and the doctor looked at me and said, I'm surprised that you look as well as you did. And actually, after he told me that, and actually and now that I kind of know what's going on with my body, and actually looking at these results, I'm like,
you have a lot of IQ points to spare, is what I really hear. You have a lot of IQ points to spare. You're one of the lucky ones.
Sorta. She's a little too smart for her own health and safety.
And is that not every neurodivergent we've ever known who had any smart?
I mean, yeah.
So smart you cut yourself.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering because I am still getting pain and stuff. I'm like, what if somebody who didn't have my internal pain tolerance, how would they be reacting right now?
Oh, they would have been at the doctor at the ER 3 weeks before you.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't have been able to walk.
A lot faster than that. I only went because my mother told me I needed to go to the doctor because she was concerned about my lungs.
Yeah. No, they would have been at the ER before that because they wouldn't have been getting out of bed.
Yeah.
Everett's post about the gut, serotonin and IBS, which I'd heard about that. One of my just fun facts, because I'd like to spew them out, that sounds absolutely made up, is absolutely true. So you have your big brain and you have your spinal cord, but you actually have depending on your point of view, somewhere between 3 to 8 other nerve clusters / tiny brains in your body. The biggest one is on top of your stomach, and it has the same capacity as your dog.
Your stomach is as smart as a dog. Alone. You had no head brain, and your stomach is still as smart as a dog.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea of how smart your stomach is, pretty darn smart. Because, like, I know Cassie was real good at faking people out.
And that is why your stomach responds poorly to artificial sweeteners, because you can fool your tongue, but then you get down to your stomach and your stomach goes, that's sweet, but I don't count the calories. Obviously, the tongue is a lying bastard. I can't trust the tongue anymore.
Right.
And so it actually will.
Great
that's
relationship.
And that's why artificial sweeteners, they're finding, are more and more of a problem. And they're, really going, like, if you want to lose weight or if you just want to stay healthy, like, it is in some ways, can you eat stuff that's just less sweet?
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, everything is good for you in moderation.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you do need foods that, like, they're like, that's not good for you, that's super bad for you. But sometimes your body might actually need that to kickstart something.
Right.
And, like, you may never need to eat it again.
Yeah, like, oh God, this whole moralizing of food.
Oh, it drives me nuts. Food has no morals.
Yeah.
It is
Also,
not good or evil. It's just food. There's no master plan.
Eating chocolate cake every morning is not a problem if you have it set up with the rest of your nutrition. Eating it in addition to everything else.
Also, antioxidants. I said it. Chocolate's got tons of antibiotics.
But they have, like, it itself is not bad. It's also not good.
It's just food. It's just food.
Also, I would rather eat, because I think it might have been a TikTok or something, I don't, like, but I saw it on, like, Facebook or something, I don't know. But somebody was comparing, like, a Quest protein thing to a McDonald's cheeseburger. Guess what? They're the same amount of stuff, and guess what? Tastes better, and probably going to be more filling. The cheeseburger.
Yeah. I mean,
just because it says protein or like looks like it says health or something, it's probably not. You might want to just eat.
Also, it depends on the kind of vegetable proteins they're using and if it's enough, like to make complete amino acid versus incomplete amino acid. I mean, like, it gets a little.
When we come back,
it gets more complicated. And I know, like, I do not want to. Tom, I've just started him up, and he's like, "We're going to break, and then I'm going to get the engine revved up."
Yeah,
Tom has an entire little baby lecture.
Oh, you had the lecture. What are you talking about? You're the one who kept giving me this one about oats.
I thought Kat was just going to talk about those brownie oatmeal chocolate things. They look so good on TikTok. Of like, yes, it's delicious. Have you not seen where, like, they're using cocoa powder in the oatmeal, and then baking it so it's like a brownie fudgy oatmeal, baked oatmeal? Like that.
I would just make peanut butter cookies.
I mean,
peanut butter cookies. Like, I just make no bake cookies. Like, what? Why would I take the time to?
Oh yes. Or as I think of no bake cookies, how to flush your gut. It's just like you just ate a chocolate flavored brush. It's just that much oatmeal.
I love those.
They're delicious.
I know.
I wonder if we can make and send those. So, like, maybe in the fall, if I can find a way to send them and I have money, like, y'all might get some cookies.
Oh, we're not going to be sad or have a problem with this.
No, Tom will take care of those. They'll be gone in days. Like, yeah. Okay. So, all right. How about this? We're going to take a quick 10-minute break. Now's a lovely time to check with your bladder. Do you have something to drink? Maybe it's snack time. Throwing that out there. And when we come back, more tips and tricks, as well as our lovely discussion about amino acids. Your friend, we'll see. And then we will also talk about your medications, because it turns out many medications are taking a toll on the body, and many pharmacists and doctors are not informing their patients about the toll that it's taking. So there are resources for this. So we're going to talk about that because we want you all to be in tip-top writing condition. Remember, writing is a lot like athletics. We need to get you in tip-top shape. So we will see y'all in just a few minutes. Boop-a-doop, 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 boop, boop, boop-a-doop, 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 boop, boop, boop-a-doop, boop, boop, boop-a-doop, boop, 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 boop. Well, well, well. Hello, everybody. Hello, Tom.
Hi.
Hello, Kat.
And just getting a new poll up.
Like, I know I just saw you. Literally talking to me for half of the sprint.
There, new poll.
Ah, new poll. New poll, new poll, new poll.
Everett reminded me of one of the options.
So I've only had yogurts on this list, so.
Still counts.
Still counts.
So I was just thinking, like, what are 3 favorites of, Americans right now?
Megan wants to vote for 2.
Yeah, I know, Everett. But like our previous poll, do you take supplements? 41% said gummy vitamins. 25% said gummy vitamins / probiotics. 16% said none. And 16% said Flintstones keeps me strong. Because they Flintstone strong, y'all. Yes, Megan is like, not fair. I can't vote for more than one. Suck.
The way we can tell the kimchi is ready to eat is it's effervescent.
Y'all,
It's
it's
a little
so
bit.
Also, the plastic, it's in a plastic container. And it's like, those quart-sized takeout containers like you get soup and stuff in? Only it's kimchi, so it's blown up. It looked like a bomb. Pressure. It looked like a little clear plastic. Like the lid is domed. The lid is not normally domed. That's how we know, she about ready.
Also, though, kimchi before it ferments.
Oh, it doesn't taste right.
Yeah. It's got this weird chalky taste to it. It's just. We understand why when people say they don't like kimchi, it's often we realize it's too young. It's no.
Yeah, I like a mature kimchi.
Things need to change in it.
What do you call the other side of like cougars? Like I like an older kimchi. I like the mature. The last poll, I take all gummy and jelly bean vitamins, even my probiotics are gummy. Very nice. I'm glad
that's the way to take it. You know it's dissolving.
Yeah. And that's, again, I wanted to mention, that's actually why I take gummy vitamins. No endorsement, just is because one of the issues with multivitamins is if your gut does not break it down, what was the point of ingesting it? So years ago, I knew somebody in town who owned a porta potty business. We called them, and you could rent porta potties for any length of time. And then after the porta potties are full, they ship the porta potties back. They load them on their truck, and they clean out the porta potties, which mostly involves spraying out the contents into a sewage tank that then is taken by, the city. It's just sewage, so it's goes out. But however, they don't just dump things directly into the city sewer lines because people put all sorts of insane things in porta potties that do not belong in sewage lines, like cups. So they actually have like a whole filtration system that they're spraying the contents through. And one of the things they always have an enormous collection of is multivitamins that are in the porta potty from people using the porta potty. And they actually they're like, oh yeah, don't use Centrum. And I'm like, well, how do you know it's Centrum? I mean, and they're like, because you can literally read Centrum on the pills when we're spraying them out of the porta potties. Like we'll have a whole bucket of Centrum multivitamins. Like, that is not dissolved at all, y'all. At the very least, if you're taking a hard multivitamin, crack it in half before you swallow it so your gut has a chance to dissolve these things. But that's why I actually recommend the like gummies, even though, yes, okay, all right, it's candy. But the reason is because your gut will at least break this down, and so it was not a waste of money. It's like you're just swallowing an edible rock when you're consuming multivitamins that are not being broken down in your gut. So at least with the gummies, you're chewing it up and then you're swallowing it. So your body will actually have a decent chance of extracting the nutrients in it. This lovely long list. So that's why I actually recommend the gummies and the jelly bean vitamins and all that, is at least then your gut has a chance.
Hey, Kat, what were you pointing to before Rise Glory was starting?
I don't remember.
Where Nia was saying everything she took was gummy? And then you were pointing to the side.
Oh, I wasn't putting at anything specific, but I was going, yes!
Okay.
That's like, I'm like, gummies. I love gummies.
The dream.
The only reason, like, my probiotics are not gummies, my grandma sent me these, and they're like 20 billion live probiotic cultures.
And that was the other thing I wanted to bring up. Another thing I wanted to bring up was the...
You don't have to chew it all the way. I only break mine in quarters in my mouth. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's whatever you want to. You don't have to chew them. It's just... But about the happy guts. And so whenever you take antibiotics, your guts, you may suddenly find yourself having diarrhea and other problems. And why is that? And it's because those antibiotics have now also killed off all the good gut flora and fauna that help you digest and absorb all those happy nutrients. And instead, it is going through you and making too much gas and just being a pain.
Yeah, also, it's like the new kids on the block are here. And sometimes the side effect is it's a minor microbore in your gut. Let them fight it out.
So I have not, I'll be honest, I have accidentally skipped like a day or two of these.
Yeah.
I already have to take 4 pills in the morning with my breakfast. Like, I'm gonna forget because I don't want to take these at the same time as my medication, just because I don't want things weird happening in my gut when there's already weird things happening in my gut. But like, also
I'm more of the let them fight it out for supremacy kind of viewpoint.
Except I don't want it to cause me more pain.
I understand. You're in a delicate place right now in your recovery.
And like that can be the problem with
like in the evening, like after dinner, like is when I'm trying to take these. I also have this is a vitamin B complex as well.
Yeah, one of the things you do need to be careful about with the probiotic pills is sometimes they can be a little overexcited for new land to settle.
Okay, so I was warned that this might cause me like diarrhea and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I had chronic diarrhea for like 2 months.
The diarrhea is more from the gas. It's more of it produces extra gas, and your body's attempts to relieve the gas will also push through the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, if you have that,
I already have gas.
So here's the thing about taking probiotics. When you start taking a new probiotic, it is absolutely normal to experience a little bit more gas. Sometimes some people told me to them it feels like a lot more gas for the first week. If you are experiencing excessive amounts of gas after the first week, and if you don't take your probiotic that day, you don't experience the gas, it may be that that brand, the strains they're growing of those probiotics may not be right for you. And that is perfectly fine. Switch it, give the rest to a friend for them to try out. I understand you don't want to throw them out, but you could offer them to other friends because, again, here's a fun fact about friendship. Turns out the majority of people who are friends in real life with each other are people who smell similar, but they have opposite running immune systems. And when we say opposite running immune systems, what we mean is their immune systems are susceptible to different things. So for instance, my immune system will be susceptible to, say, a particular type of influenza. And more than likely, because Tom and I share so much genetics, he will also be sensitive to the same immune system. But for instance, Cat may not be sensitive to the same immune system, even though perhaps we both smell similar. So that is something they found about people who remain close friends for a long time, is like, and yes, they do have people turn into these scientific studies use t-shirts. But when official professional sniffers smell it, people who are close friends, who've remained close friends for more than a few months, are close friends are people who smell similar, but whose immune systems are susceptible to different things. And they think that there may actually be a reason humans are like this, that this is a way for essentially humans, someone will survive. Imagine if I'm sick and Cat is not as susceptible to the same bugs, the same virus or microbe, then that means that she's more likely both to be healthy and not be like taken down by the same thing as me, but also she can make me soup. So we're both more likely to survive, because then if she catches something and I'm less susceptible to it, I can then help take care of her and I won't be as stricken with it. So they think that's actually part of the why humans have survived so long, is we are naturally attracted to people who smell similar to us, but whose immune systems are not sensitive to the same things. So if you find a particular brand of probiotics does not work for you, maybe that is like the impetus for you to give it to your friend, because they've got a different immune system. So this may work for them and it not work for you. Give it a try.
Now, having said all that, the two brands we can attest to that have had noticeable effects on our system. So we know that it's not just a placebo in there. One is hyperbiotics.
This is the one that I like. It works very well for me. This is not an endorsement. I've tried a whole bunch. Part of what makes probiotics work is you need sheer numbers. And so you need to be looking at like 2 million in a pill is so little, y'all. No.
Yeah, mine is 20 billion.
Yeah, you need a lot. Like, so they usually list, mine is 5 billion, and specifically what you want, what you need to be looking for no matter what. And again, I'm not trying to endorse them.
Although here's a decent review of what are the features and what is in that.
But what I was specifically looking for, let me make me bigger for this so you can actually see this thing. Yeah. I was looking for a lot. So I was looking for a high number in the billions. And then I was looking for a bunch of different strains. Specifically, so again, you're getting a complex grouping of different ones. And then what I did, if you look, they actually list all the strains. If you are looking at a probiotic and they don't actually list by name every strain in there, suspicious. Move on. That's a scam. They should be absolutely listing I'm so sorry that it's not quite focusing, but they should be absolutely listing every strain. And what I did was I would just copy and paste into Google every one of these strains and look up, well, what does this one do? What does this one do? And several times I had found that other probiotic brands were listing the same strain by 2 different names.
Here, like, I'll show you real quick.
I'm like, what is this freaking nonsense? So again, actually look these things up, because again, your gut health is worth the research.
And here's the different ones it's got. And on this one, you can even go look up what each of those is known for, what studies have been done about them. The other one we know definitely has effects. Gloria will remember this. Watch her face. The Ultimate Flora ones. We know that company is also pretty good about, if they say there's that much in there, there is that much. And that it's another
super gassy.
but
Like,
it is,
incredible gas.
yes, but it's
An
a good way
impressive
to,
amount.
if you took a whole bunch of antibiotics, guess what? Those antibiotics probably also killed off a lot of the gut microbes. They now realize that's actually what your appendix is for, is that should you have a lot of diarrhea, or, and now the equivalent of, antibiotics, where your system, your intestines get flushed and mostly cleaned, your appendix will always hold a, concentrated amount of all the gut microbes you have, and will repopulate your gut. But if it doesn't have a good amount, or the antibiotics really just took a number and killed most of it, you may want to consider a probiotic supplement for at least a month or two to kind of help repopulate your guts and help things settle down. So, like, that's why I often hear, if you take some strong antibiotics, your guts always feel kind of wobbly for the next month or two or three. It's because they're trying to recolonize with all the microbes you need to digest and absorb food and nutrients. And until then, things are not going well. And so this is a shortcut. Because
I mean, technically, another shortcut is, okay, it's kind of gross, but kissing people or eating their chewed gum.
Well, chewing their gum, you don't have
chewing,
to.
Yeah, no, chewing their used gum. I know it's gross, but let me put it this: you know what's grosser? Getting a fecal transplant from your roommate. That's gross, y'all. Okay, and granted, it's either that or die. I'll take the fecal transplant. But honestly, if you're like, okay, do you want a fecal transplant, or do you just want to chew their used gum each day, a new gum for a week? It's like, I'll take the used gum. I would rather take the used gum than be taking fecal
after they brush their teeth.
Yeah. So, look, I mean, being slutty has its benefits. I know that's weird.
And another one, look, and I know, eat some of the food off their plate.
Yeah, like sharing a dessert.
This is how you got the microbes from your parents.
Yeah, like sharing a dessert with a friend, and even using the same utensil, you're going to get some of, their flora and fauna in their mouth. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I say this, and we literally are in the age of a plague, and I feel like a little bit hypocritical about it. But again, if you have had to take serious antibiotics, particularly they've told you these are really strong antibiotics, or you've ever taken any IV antibiotics, modern problems call for modern solutions.
Nia, it's still a possibility for your kids of, like, if your kids have taken a lot of antibiotics, they ain't doing well, you can always chew some gum for them, because they probably still have a lot of flora and fauna in common with you. It would help them.
If you catch any kid eating boogers, they really need to be, they either need to be given probiotics or they need to be sharing gum. Because we actually have known for 35 years that children who eat their own or other people's boogers are actually do not have as diverse a flora and fauna life in their gut as their, peers do. And that they suspect for 35 years, we've suspected at least that their body is actually craving a more diverse microbiome.
And again, maybe just time to supplement and get one of these decent ones. There's now a lot of, companies out there that talk and review about them and, check them.
But again, like, if you don't want to be kissing people, you don't want to be sharing their gum, and you definitely don't want to get fecal transplants, which I totally get, because why, Lord? May I recommend probiotics? Even if you haven't taken antibiotics in the last year, it's good to have and be taking it once in a while with meal. I highly recommend taking it like somewhere within an hour or two of having eaten, even a snack. Why? Because the flora and fauna, the probiotics, they need something to grow on. They need, as soon as they get into your gut, they need food. They need carbs to grow. Specifically. I know, it's kind of sad, isn't it? I do miss the variety. No, I know.
I don't know if that was about the buffet or if that's the no about her kids.
Well, I hope nobody nobody's kids are feeling the need to eat boogers. However, I'm just saying, if you notice any child is one of those kids, it may be at least something to recommend to their parent of, hey, your kid may need probiotics. Or at least to share gum with someone trusted. Because let's be honest, I mean, we're human beings. We need a diverse gut microbiome. Again, as we talked about, to make serotonin, to make dopamine, most of your immune system is happening in your gut. So, you want a working immune system? Well, you've got to take care of it.
And also, the more diverse and more stuff you've got in your gut that's happy with you, the harder it is for any dangerous microbes to come in and colonize.
Because it's about real estate. When you get right down to it, your gut microbiome is about real estate. So you want to make sure that the good families have moved in and not those rowdy MFers that are like not going to really protect your gut and help your immune system grow big and strong. Okay. So again, you need a wonderful, strong, healthy, diverse system in your gut microbiome so that should you be exposed to something that really throws you for a doozy, your gut is there to help like keep your immune system running well. And if they're not, that's an issue. And antibiotics will kill a lot of what you have in your gut. Stress will as well. Stress, actually, the problem with stress is it sends out several kinds of hormones that signal to your gut for all those microbes to slow down growth. So they're no longer happily building families and little civilizations in your intestine. And instead, it becomes sort of a ghost town. You do not want that because, again, your immune system needs a happy civilization in your gut. And so if it's a ghost town, we're like, well, we used to be a bustling city, but now no one ever comes to Neaville. That's an issue, right?
So Carrie has one.
What if your immune system is already on overdrive? I heard you should watch stuff if it says immune booster. Okay. So here's the thing about a happy gut microbiome. It will actually help prevent your immune system from being on overdrive. It will calm it down because it will be sending the right signals to your T cells and your B cells and your, what is it? My favorites, macrophages. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about phages. They are like the carrier airplanes of the immune system. They literally are one of the largest kinds of immune system cells, and they go in and they find, like, say, a virus, and they just literally encase the virus, and they're like, this is it, now I shall leave the system, and then you poop it out. And I'm like, that is so freaking cool. I love macrophages.
Is also what accounts for about a third of what goes out in the bathroom.
Yeah, what you poop. A lot of it is actually your immune system you're pooping out, that like it's part of the normal, life cycle of your immune system. About a third of your poop is actually your immune system and other cells, because this is how your body gets rid of a lot of cells rather than the food you ate.
Most of that actually gets absorbed.
Have you ever actually like pooped and went like, why do I keep pooping? I didn't even have that much food today. Haha. Okay, so what it is it's your immune system, it's the cells, it's all the cells, like your heart cells. The heart cells that are in your heart right now were not the same heart cells that were in your heart a year ago.
If you ever want to know what it is that goes out when you go to the bathroom, I kid you not, Google this phrase and you will find out. NASA synthetic fecal matter. They had to test out their stuff, they had to create fake but still very realistic, which meant it had to be constituents of what people actually remove. And like 1/3 of it is like one particular bacteria. Like it's a lot of one particular bacteria that you just relieve yourself of every day, because that's what helps you digest your food.
You need that microbiome just to like be able to absorb all the nutrients you ate today. You cannot do it on your own. You would die if you did not have all these other bacteria and yeast, fungi in your gut. You would die. I'm not kidding, and I'm not trying to scare you either. But that's why, like, again, don't drink bleach.
I say, unless you're on like the cancer level super immune suppressants, that have just killed off your immune system, it's usually recommended to, take a probiotic.
Yeah.
If you have no immune system, though, you do have to be much more careful, because just anything could take over.
And again, you may want to consult with your doctor or message your doctor or your doctor's nurse. Hey, this is the probiotic I was looking at. Is this okay? More than likely, they're going to be like, A-okay, great. But again, one of the things I'd recommend is literally searching. And we do have like the link that we did post of probiotics database, as well as there are other ones that you can use to like literally probiotic databases about research having been done about these various strains, so that you can be more familiar with what they do. So for instance, some of the strains that are in some probiotics are specifically ones that have to do with lactose. This is not necessarily what people who are truly lactose intolerant need. Or it may not be useful if you're lactose intolerant and you are one of those lactose intolerant people who literally will never eat dairy. Maybe you're vegan or whatever. But again, it's something that you should be informed about what you're putting in your body. Be more familiar with the probiotics you're actually taking. And again, look for large numbers of amounts on these pills of like, oh, you're getting 50 billion or 5, but you should be getting in the billions for sure. Just so that each time you take it, it's actually worth it. Because you need a lot of colonies. You got to colonize. This is the one time when you actually want to colonize something. It's bad to colonize human living conditions. It's great to colonize the personal colony inside you. So, again, because the more good, happy probiotics in your system, the better you're going to be able to absorb every vitamin and mineral. Because you can't on your own. We can't. Literally, we are made for having sort of a Gotham City of helpful gut bacteria.
And some of that bacteria helps synthesize extra vitamin K, which helps you clot. Some of it synthesizes extra vitamin E. Like, they increase how much you have of these vitamins as well. Like, you need them.
Yeah, because if you did not have vitamin K, you would bleed out. Period. It's not negotiable. So you need vitamin K. You want vitamin K. Granted, you can have too much vitamin K, but that's a whole nother matter. That apparently has a genetic mutation component. Ignore that.
And
you would know if you.
Yeah. That. Okay, now on for that last one of what we were going to talk about, supplements. What sort of started it all.
This one?
Drug muggers. So those medications your doctor prescribes to you to help you, sometimes they can actually cause more problems because they're taking extra. Like, to be absorbed into your body, they use up certain nutrients. And like this example, what this person's really trying to show, and here I'll post a link to his full slideshow, is that a common set of medications could all use the same nutrient, and suddenly your body's out of all of it. Because the medicines that are supposed to treat this disorder have taken all of the nutrient, and now it seems like your disorder has gotten even worse.
Mm-hmm.
One famous one is, so CoQ10, if you are depleted on it, you will seem to have heart problems. Your heart won't really work because you need it in every cell to generate energy. It's kind of like you need it.
It is amazing. Okay, so CoQ10 is also called ubiquinol, And the reason it's called ubiquinol is because it is ubiquitous. It is made by nearly every cell in your human body.
Now, here's
You
a set
need
of
it to live.
medications that deplete CoQ10. Statins,
So, statins,
antidepressants,
beta
beta
blockers.
blockers, calcium channel blockers, clonidine, methyl-dopa, and metformin.
Metformin being a common and the cheapest diabetes medication, as well as a very common medication for PCOS and even endometriosis, I've been told.
And you will see all of those recommended as standard medications for anyone over the age of 60. And suddenly they will have more heart problems. Another set that you may get, especially in someone over 60, or just, certain people with different sets, will all deplete your magnesium and calcium, proton pump inhibitors, antibiotics, ACE inhibitors, diuretics, choline.
So I want to point out, proton pump inhibitors include Nexium.
All those antacid ones that are 24-hour antacid.
Zantac, I believe Pepcid.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm
trying to remember which ones are the proton, but I know it just says proton pump, but I think it also is the antihistamine too.
Yes. Yeah.
ACE inhibitors, diuretics, which a lot of people take diuretics thinking they're blood pressure medicine, but they are technically diuretic.
Oral contraceptives.
Yes.
Aspirin or methyl salicylate, which is, that green liniment. Thyroid meds and laxatives.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not feeling well, you may take these to help you with them. Guess what? You don't have enough calcium
or magnesium.
Now you're feeling more locked up. You're more knotted up.
Your muscles hurt, and also you may also be having heart problems because if you don't have enough calcium and magnesium floating in your system, you are going to get all sorts of kind of random heart issues. It's sometimes an arrhythmia and sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's beating too fast and sometimes it's a little too slow. Essentially, it's sort of malfunctioning is what's happening.
Antibiotics and oral contraceptives also can reduce the good bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. What's helping you keep from getting pregnant may also make your stomach really upset and keep you from absorbing other nutrients.
By the way, one of the side effects of inadequate amounts of CoQ10 is restless leg and general twitchiness. And that may be because it's also interrupting how your body's reception of dopamine. But yes, one of the symptoms of inadequate amounts of CoQ10 is restless leg.
Also, not enough vitamin D will cause restless leg all of a sudden.
No. If you take vitamin D at night, you can have restless leg.
Oh, that's right.
The vitamin D at night.
Yeah.
So you should take vitamin D in the morning.
That's what I say. Yeah. And I just want to show this is just a small example. This is just with all medications. You need to know what nutrients they use. That's why we really like this book, Drug Muggers.
By Susie Cohen.
Give me one sec.
Here, I'll post that link you posted. Here we go. The big list of drugs that bug CoQ10.
We highly recommend her. She's a really good pharmacist. And she talks about different things. We highly recommend that book. Then you can look up the different medications and what they use. But she was one who pointed out, the most drugs they give to heart patients will cause a depletion in a nutrient that, if it's already depleted, will cause side effects of malfunctioning heart. So the medications may actually make it worse.
Bye, Nia.
Bye-bye. And so it's always good to go look up. Maybe you need to supplement. There was an ADHD med Glory was on for a few years, that, she cried every night. During the day, though, the medication worked well, but she had to go off of it because, a nightly emotional breakdown is kind of rough. Turned out it was just a selenium deficiency that her family is just naturally prone to. And the medication was just exacerbating it. But like, if you have emotional control issues, it may just be selenium. You just need some more selenium in your life. God, we wish we had known this decades ago.
However, be careful. You can overdose on selenium. It is not a pretty death. It is recommended that no one consume more than 200 to 400 micrograms of selenium on any given day. So be aware that you need to be mindful of what are the upper and lower amounts of these various vitamins and minerals.
Yeah.
Like, again, these things actually work, which means you can hurt yourself with it. So be aware, like, you can overdose on calcium. It is not good. You can really hurt yourself if you consistently take too much calcium for several weeks. It doesn't take a year of it. It's just a few weeks. You can end up in the hospital. So again, you can easily find this information about what is the recommended amounts of things or what are the safe limits, and then you supplement accordingly. So just be mindful that this is real stuff. So that means, of course, you can't hurt yourself. If you take too much niacin, let me tell you, I accidentally took too much niacin as a teenager one time. My father had these mega pills, and I was like, I'll just take one of these. Because I didn't like eating sunflower seeds at the time, and sunflower seeds are high in niacin, so I took a niacin. It was way too much. I felt like my skin was on fire for 6 hours. That is just a side effect of a niacin overdose.
And I know a lot of women who start having, in their early 20s, have muscle aches and pains in their joints and muscles. And it's because they don't have enough magnesium. And so may need to take magnesium supplements, but they never would even thought about that. And a lot of times the doctors don't even mention it. That, your diet may not be high enough in magnesium for your usage. And magnesium is water soluble. So it's hard for your body to store.
No.
Your kidneys only keep enough magnesium that your body needs at the time.
You mean about B vitamins? B vitamins are water soluble.
Magnesium, like a magnesium salt, is water soluble.
Magnesium is neither water soluble nor fat soluble.
Your kidneys decide how much you keep. So how are they doing? Like, that's neat. To look up the kidneys more.
No, now magnesium salts. But like minerals are a different situation from vitamins.
Yeah, fat soluble vitamins are A, D, E, and K. But yeah, like, you want to talk about a weird thing you can do by overdosing on vitamins? Too much vitamin C will give you scurvy. Yeah, that's right. No vitamin C will give you scurvy. Too much vitamin C over a prolonged period of time will also give you scurvy.
The human body is wild.
Yes. So that's like, if you want to stay on the cautious side, just take these, every other day. Between that and a regular, diet of, variety of food, in general, you should be fine. The reason you see excessive amounts on vitamins is usually because your body has a hard time absorbing those. And so they know it'll only get a small fraction of that. That's why you'll see sometimes like 9,000% of your daily recommended amount for something, and it's because your guts have a hard time to absorb it. So they put in a lot extra.
I think it's that magnesium is only partially water soluble is the issue. Like it's more like it's in a suspension and it's not like fully soluble is what it looks like. I'm so sorry for the confusion. I apologize. That is on me.
Well, I mean, there's also been some confusion with magnesium because of what's called magnesium oil, which is actually a water-based dissolved salt of magnesium sulfate, Epsom salt, is called magnesium oil because it feels slick. But that's what
you mean like all oil feels slick? What?
It's not an oil glory. It's magnesium sulfate in water. And that's Epsom salt, and that's what you spray under your armpits for quote unquote, natural deodorant.
As I said, I apologize. That's on me.
But yeah, like we want to talk about supplement, especially with medications, which, a lot of people who are neurodivergent will probably be on some meds. And you don't want your medications to make you worse. It's like, as you see in that top one, antidepressants can reduce your B vitamins, especially B12. And guess what happens? You lose energy, even though your serotonin's back up to normal, but now you don't have enough B vitamins to be normal.
It says antibiotics.
Oh. What am I?
Antidepressants are the CoQ10.
Ah. I'm sorry, guys. My brain is obviously used up a bit too.
Hey, Tom, do you need to take some vitamins?
She's been waiting the whole time for this.
But
wonk wonk wonk.
We're just trying to get out all this different information. Gloria and I have done a lot of research over the decades about these supplements because they affect you in ways you don't realize, and doctors aren't really trained that much for chronic situations.
Also, doctors are barely trained at all about nutrition.
They're trained how to handle acute situations. Like when someone comes in complaining of, their gut all of a sudden in the last few days started feeling like it was a black hole. It was going to die or explode. It couldn't decide which. They're used to that. They're not used to so I've felt crummy for the last 5 years of my life.
Could you help?
They're like,
They're not trained for that. They're trained for help. I don't want to die, but I feel like I'm dying now. Doctors are trained for crisis. They are not trained for chronic illness.
And then also, how you do have a good doctor is they're like, but I'm not, but let's do some research together. And let's see if there's any specialists that we could ask questions to, see if we can figure out what's going on. Like, that's how you know you have a good doctor.
One that accepts they do not know everything.
Right.
Exactly. And so I've only seen my doctor like twice now, my regular one, and I've seen my GI twice now. But like my regular doctor, so far I really, really like him because he explained to me the options and let me truly decide to take an anxiety med that I don't have to take daily. I can take it daily, but I do not have to take it daily, which I really am not comfortable with taking it daily just because I have a sister who was addicted to anxiety and depression meds.
Pretty rough.
So, and
so something you've already got to be cautious about.
Yeah, and she was put on them early preteens. She was a preteen when she went on them. And she told me a couple years ago, it was after I had already been to college, she was like, now that I'm off them, I didn't know, when I was on them, I didn't know if I loved you or hated you. I just knew I felt something for you. But it had messed her up so much. And explains some of her really crappy relationships. Just saying. But my doctor like explained that to me, and like he was like, I don't know what's wrong with you, but let's run these tests, and then once we get the results in, we'll see if I need to refer you to a GI.
Yeah.
And then like I had a question about taking. I had a question about something, and he's like, I don't have an answer for that. But you can ask the specialist that. Like, this person is much more knowledgeable. Ask them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want to see in a doctor. And the other nice part, you know, as far as if you're in America, in the US, and, you know, we are all worried about medication and medicine and the way the hospital system's set up. If you can go see a GP, you have a lot more control and a lot less surprises in your bills than if you have to go to a hospital and get treated in an acute, very fast way. It's much harder to control versus if you're seeing it at your own pace over weeks and months, it's less likely to, you know, become one of those stories. Also, you're more likely to have an enjoyable life where, you know, you get to do the stuff and the creative outputs and, you know, get to enjoy things with your friends.
Also, just when your gut ain't happy, you can't think clearly. You know?
Oh, yeah, I 100% agree with this.
That is true of every human being. Heck, I'm going to tell you, that's true of dogs. When their tummy's not happy, they don't want to go fetch. They don't necessarily want their belly rubbed. They don't want to do anything. They feel crummy.
Why don't you tell everyone what is the main symptom if you have sepsis?
Brain fog.
What's the other one? You have a sense of impending doom.
Oh, I forgot. Yes. Do you know
If you
that's
have a
also
sense of impending doom.
Do you know how many different things I've come across now that I have that one of the symptoms is sense of impending doom?
Go see a doctor. It's probably something.
Ehlers-Danlos, one of the symptoms of Ehlers-Danlos is a sense of impending doom. Kidney stones, one of the symptoms is a sense of impending doom. Sepsis, one of the symptoms is a sense of impending doom. By the way, yes, ulcerative colitis, one of the symptoms is, in fact, a sense of impending doom because I noticed it.
Okay. No,
I did not come here for this.
Because really, though, what a sense of impending doom means is your body's not doing well.
Yeah.
And you're not sure how to feel better.
Like, it's like a sensory overload situation where your neurology is just, there's too much static in the system because the pain is sending out so much noise and your brain's like, we don't know how to deal with this. The world is ending. Like, but it's like, no, the world is not ending. But yeah, your body definitely needs you to stop.
My body might have just been like, we're just not going to care about anything.
Yeah.
We're not even going to panic.
There are times where I feel so crummy, I don't click like on anyone's stuff on Instagram when I'm scrolling. And it's not because I don't love y'all. It's because I don't feel anything.
You are on top of hitting likes.
I feel like it's the one thing I can give you is like they don't charge me for likes, so everybody gets likes. Also, I like y'all. Hi, yeah. But like, I know I don't feel well when I'm like, I don't feel like clicking like on anyone's stuff on Instagram. I'm just gonna look at puppies. It's like below sense of impending doom is I don't feel like clicking like on anybody's stuff. Like, that's like the next level below. Do you realize how quickly that ramps? Like, it goes, I feel great. Everyone gets likes. I don't feel like clicking like anybody's stuff. Doom, the world is ending. My world anyway. Like, this is not a helpful internal system to tell me when I need to seek medical care. Also, it's taken me decades just to figure this out. Why gotta be the advanced model? But thankfully, I have friends to help me figure that out. When I feel really well, I comment on everybody's stuff because I'm a little too chatty.
Y'all have no idea.
Anyway, so that's the dealio. Health, that's a thing. You should totally try it, y'all.
Maybe you'll get shit done. Oops, sorry.
It's okay.
I posted a link for the Google Books of drug muggers.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have everything, but it's still about 30 to 40% of the book, so you can look over and see if it's something that interests you. And it is, written by a qualified pharmacist about medication, so it's actually informative and interesting.
Check her out.
Yeah. We hope y'all
Also,
learn.
check your local library. There may be a copy so you could read the book. And you get,
Yeah.
let's be honest, what do I recommend you do? If your local library has it, you just go, you don't even have to check this book out. You just literally go in, look up all your medications, write down the things, because she has it in a very helpful way. And you just, okay, and you just write down that. And then, of course, you know what you're going to do. You're going to immediately then go look up what are the actual name medications of your friends and family that you love very dearly. While I'm here, let me quickly look up, like, what is those drugs you've mentioned recently, so that you're going to message them too.
They also take pictures.
Snap a shot. There you go.
Some phones have this really great function in their camera. I don't know if this one has it, but my old one did, where it would actually scan it and adjust it. If you had it at a weird angle.
Fancy.
It was super fancy. I still use that phone to take pictures and stuff.
21st century. Yeah. Fancy.
I think Google has a document scanner that'll also do an app.
So, like, again, just go to your library. You don't have to buy the book. I realize, but Gloria, you're a writer. Why are you not encouraging everyone to buy the book? Because we ain't got no money. I know if y'all had money, you would be joining and like to my like thing so that you could have all of my lovely little emojis. I know you would be doing that.
I would love to give you all the money.
Right. I know. I absolutely know. Every one of y'all who keeps coming here regular, y'all ain't got no money. And that's why I'm like, hey, don't worry. Go to your library. Just snapshots of the pages that are mentioning your medications and your family's medications. And then that way y'all can read it. You can text message all the pictures to your family so they know.
And then if you see something of note you need to talk to your doctor about, you can even show it to them.
Right.
Because in there, she also, the other part I liked about the drug muggers is she mentions which diagnostic lab test will give you an accurate test for this nutrient versus which ones will not and give you a false hope. Like testing for calcium is hard because your body's going to always maintain about the same amount of calcium unless you got something really wrong. But there are a few tests that will tell you if your body's taking bone calcium or if it's just using the calcium from your food.
Because if it's taking bone calcium, that is a sign your doctor knows how to interpret. Because that is bad, y'all. That is not good. So your doctor very interested in that, but your doctor's not going to think about that because they're not trained in medical school to initially run a blood test to see if your body is taking bone calcium. They're just going to run the regular blood calcium, which everybody all the time has blood calcium. So that's not going to tell you if you're actually subclinically calcium deficient. Hell, even my doctor years ago, like almost 20 years ago, did that. He was like, it's fine. But like I had originally gone in with, I used to get these absolutely painful, terrible, deep calf spasms, in my calves. Oh my God. And people could feel it. Like it was not just, oh, I have a Charlie horse. It was like, I could not get the calf to relax for an hour and it hurt so much. I'd just be crying in bed for an hour. It was awful, just screaming. It was awful. And he's like, your blood calcium says you're fine, but I still think it's calcium deficiency. So I just want you to start taking calcium supplements, which kind of was a problem for me. And actually, that is how it led to me getting diagnosed with a hypothyroid, because the calcium tablets, the soft gels he wanted me to take, because he wanted me to take soft gels, not the hard ones. The soft gels were so big, and I had trouble swallowing them. And even though he palpated my thyroid and was like, it feels okay, your symptoms are describing a goiter. So let's go ahead and test your thyroid. And that is how we found out that it was, it was high, but it wasn't quite high enough. And every time I had been tested, it's always like, it's just like 2/100ths too low to be hypothyroid. I'm like, it's never going to be high enough. I don't know. And he decided to give it a chance, and he still prescribed like the lowest level of thyroid medication for me. And like my world changed after that, because I finally, my thyroid, my goiter, it turned out I had one, but it was facing into my esophagus. And that's why it was hard for me to swallow large pills. And within 6 months of me being on thyroid medication, he was like, so how are you feeling? I'm like, I'm feeling okay, but let me tell you, I can finally swallow those huge calcium soft gels you prescribed. And he's like, whoa, let's test your thyroid again. And my TSH was close to a normal number. And he's like, I really think you had a goiter. I think you still have a goiter. And so you need to tell me anytime you have trouble swallowing things, so we know to retest your thyroid. And that was how, like, so if you think about it, both my calf, spasms, and I'd had those most of my life. My calf spasms and my thyroid were essentially, he had to indirectly diagnose, because my blood tests were not quite giving him the numbers he needed to see. So he had to use deductive reasoning for this. So it's important to talk to your doctor about things that just seem wrong. I mean, as I said, I'd had calf pain from time to time my whole life, but particularly when I was a teenager. But everybody's like, oh, growing pains. Y'all, these legs didn't get any longer. It was not growing pains. My inseam is 27 inches. My mother's inseam was 27.5 inches, and she was 4'6". I am all torso, little legs. There was no growing of the legs. Okay, but yeah, these deep calf spasms that I'd had so long, he actually listened to. And so indirectly, it finally listed me getting on thyroid medication was because of the calves, because I had mentioned, he's like, are you taking, because I was like, I'm still having pain, when I saw him for my checkup, and he's like, are you taking your calcium soft gels? I'm like, they're hard to, they get stuck, and then it hurts my throat for hours. And he's like, that is not right. That is let me look at your pills, because he always insisted I bring everything that I put, pill wise in my body. He always wanted me to bring them. So bring them in my tote bag. And he's like, okay, they're big, but they're not like that big. They were big, but they weren't like, horse pill, something insane. And he's like, you should not be experiencing pain swallowing this. And I'm like, I'm having to like start wrapping them in peanut butter to get them to slide down. This just seems hard. He's like, let's test your thyroid, because you can have a goiter facing the other way, and when they palpate, they will not feel it. And that's what was happening to me. So it's important to talk to your doctor, but it's important to have a doctor you can actually have a rapport with, which is really hard for neurodivergent people. It is not you. Go find another doctor. I'm going to tell you the truth about humans. What my father used to tell me, and he was right. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Squeak, squeak. Just keep squeaking. Get annoying. Remember, you're not here to make friends. You're here to survive. So that means if you're annoying medical personnel till you find one who will listen, you tell them, look, I'm going to keep squeaking until y'all find me someone who will listen to me. Especially if you tell a nurse that, they gonna find you a doctor, because nurses are exhausted, every last one of them. And they're like, oh, that's the problem? You just want someone to listen to you? I want someone to listen to me who will actually look up my problems, because I am tired of being miserable like this, or suffering calf pain, Or I can't swallow bigger pills. I have to be careful how I swallow food. Da da da. I mean, y'all, sometimes I would experience pain just swallowing soda. Yeah, that's called a goiter. So if you just tell like medical personnel, y'all, I'm going to keep being this way. So y'all find me somebody who's going to listen to my problems and try to find solutions. You're more likely to find an ally. Be upfront about it, but be gentle. Be honest, but be gentle and upfront about, look, I am here to take care of me. Because I got to live with this body. Y'all don't have to live with this. I have to live with it. They understand that. They absolutely understand that. Also, most people in the medical world are really got into it to be of service. They really want people to live happy lives so that they can go home at night going, I did that. I helped that person. I made sure that person can get out of bed every day and doesn't hate their life. I did that. That is what gets them out of bed every day. So if you can dangle that carrot of, hey, listen to me and help me find solutions, they are going to want to go after. The vast majority of medical personnel are going to want to. So speak up and squeak, squeak. Squeak, squeak, MFers. Did anyone have any final thoughts? Because that's my final thought. Did y'all like get it off your chest, everything you had to say?
Just go to the dang doctor if you
Go
need
to
to
the
go.
dang doctor.
I think for mine, it's enjoy food variety. That will actually help cover your nutrition far better than large amounts of any particular foods. There was something else, but of course now I've forgotten.
ADHD has shown up again. ADHD has entered the chat. Sorry.
Oh, and the happier you are, the more nutrition you will absorb from your food. So eat things you like. If you don't like it, you will only really absorb the macronutrients. They have tested this.
Nutritionists do say that. I watched one of the TikTok where they were
That's
talking.
excellent. I'm so glad that it's finally like kind of seeping into more of the
Yeah,
medical
and
world.
like also you will feel more. So if you enjoy the food you're eating, you will feel more full.
It's true.
And like, so if you don't enjoy smoothies, don't have a smoothie for breakfast.
Yeah, if you don't like them, don't eat them.
Like some people can have a smoothie
Mm-hmm.
and feel full.
Yeah.
It's
true.
But if it's not really doing anything for you, just make something else.
You know when you're eating sad food because when you eat it, it makes you sadder. You're like, oh, I feel sad now. I want to cry about like all the kittens that are not being petted. You know what I mean? Like some food is just sad. It's just sad and it makes you feel sadder. Let that be that your stomach brain is telling you, don't ever eat this again. It makes us sad. Okay? Versus the food that makes you happy. You know when it makes you happy because you wiggle in your seat or you dance a little when you're eating it. You're like, you do the little kitty dance.
When I eat anything cooked by my dad.
Glory, when she has some smoked chicken that's actually locally made, done well.
And Tom makes it. Yes, smoked chicken or smoked chuck roast. Oh my gosh. Y'all, smoked chuck roast. It just makes you so happy inside. It's like what glories crave. Yes. So think about the foods that make you happy and try to get more of those in your diet. It will probably improve your overall health because your gut will be able to be absorbing more of those nutrients. And then you'll feel better. So you'll essentially feel better twice. You'll feel good when you're eating it and you're like doing your little kitty dance. And then you'll feel good again when your body's actually able to utilize those nutrients you ate when that made you happy. And yes, that means ice cream is a food you can eat, as provided you're not lactose intolerant,
or that you don't get pain from
right? There's no morally good or evil food.
Does it make you happy? Eat it.
Eat it, just eat it. I was a 80s kid. Okay. Next week, June 20th, we're going to talk about understanding your pets. Guess what? If you have a pet, technically that pet is neurodivergent to you. Because all pets are neurodivergent to humans.
They develop differently.
None of them think like humans. They all have to learn how to deal with you. And then they all try to train you. All pets are like this.
Poor pets.
It's a lot of work, but you know what? Number one, most of them have no thumbs. And number two, they're happy to do the work to get the treats. Let's be perfectly honest. This is working out for them in the long run. Okay.
And, for some of them, maybe this is helping them grow their little souls. I mean,
you're talking about cats right now. I know it.
Oh, no, I was thinking of cats to guinea pigs. They had a lot of opinions. They were so opinionated.
I know. I loved how opinionated guineas were.
So,
little piggy.
Parker and Paris are very opinionated, and they do not like my sister. Because when my mom, if my mom isn't home, my sister goes over and gives them their food. And she's like, when I went up there, she's like, they're nicer when you give them food. It's like, yeah. Because I do it right. Like,
what?
They want their food.
Smack them on their little bottoms with a bit of lettuce. Don't be a jerk.
Like, you gotta... Also, she gives them too much... Like, they hate it if you give them too much food.
Because they're like, I cannot believe she gave us so much work. Now we
got to keep this off the ground. We got to store it. We don't want to attract competition.
This is so much eating. I'm tired. I'm a fat little piggy.
They're very particular, and they're very opinionated.
But that's what we want to talk about, of the problem for most people with pets. And when they say, I don't like this type of pet, or I don't like that type of pet, it's because they don't understand their behaviors and what they mean. I don't mind. I like cats because I know their behaviors. I know what their different body motions indicate to me, including when they're suddenly going to bite, usually because they're feeling really good and they want to bite something. Yeah. And they're just going to lightly nip. They're not going to actually try to draw blood.
They're not trying to actually draw blood
most
on you.
of the time.
Yeah,
some of them are just little psychopaths.
There's a few part vampire cats. Let's be honest.
But I don't worry about that because I know their body language of what they're going to do first before that happens. So especially if I don't know that cat yet, I can just remove my hand before they try to bite because I see it coming. And there's all the stuff, including the guinea pigs of they don't want excess food. They have other things.
It's not a treat for them to be fed excess food.
Also, so there was a difference to them between you've given me excess food and you've given me the right amount of food for now, and then I'm going to nap with my head on this pepper for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to eat this pepper.
Well, yeah, because you got to get the energy back up to then keep eating.
Because
need to rest
Parker I have a picture of Parker using a pepper as a pillow.
Yes.
Because I gave them peppers.
Yes.
And she specifically dragged it over to the hiding.
Absolutely.
So she could, and then she ate it. She needed to nap. Absolutely. She's like, I need this, but I gotta digest first.
But and the same thing, we'll talk about blue-tongued skinks.
Oh yes.
Of
I never thought I'd love a lizard.
There's no question they're happy. When they're unhappy, it's pretty obvious actually they're unhappy if you know what you're looking for.
If you know what you're looking for.
But they are a little bit more subtle. And so that's what I find with people who talk about they don't like pets. It's because I don't know how to communicate with them. They say they don't like dogs because I don't know how to communicate with the dog. What's the signs that the dog's happy to see me versus unhappy? Including the dogs play. If the dog sneezes at you, they're playing. They do this on purpose. If you don't know that though, it can be disconcerting. You're not sure should I interact or do they have hay fever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, we're going to talk about essentially various pet psychology, including birds, lizards, cats, dogs, goats. You can have a lot of kind of pets because we're humans. And the one thing we're really good at is petting things.
And pack bonding to things.
Oh, we'll bond with rocks. Are you kidding? We'll bond with rocks. The rock is never going to give you feedback, y'all. And yet we will bond with it. We'll paint a little face on it. If you've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, you know exactly what I'm referring to right now. But we are so good at petting. Like these hands, oh my God, y'all. We have a unique set of digits.
I keep joking
Make us
with Glory
perfect for petting
that
things.
there's someday going to be some fiction of where there is, a galactic civilization, and it's going to come back to save humanity from itself. And be like, but why? Humanity is in its distant past. And it's because, but nothing has ever developed that pets as well as humans, and they just need to keep some of the humans alive. So they have invented time travel. They're going to manipulate everything just so humans will stay around.
I look forward to you writing the story, Tom. I will help you edit. Because, like, the thing is I used to think, oh, well, primates can pet like us. And no, they actually can't. So it turns out as human beings, we have developed very unique fine motor system here. These hands are not like chimpanzee hands or gorilla hands or even lemurs and the smaller ones or New World monkeys, Old World monkeys. None of it. We are unique, even among primates.
We have weak hands compared to other primates, but those weak hands mean far more finer dexterity and motor control and pressure application.
So it means we can tickle everything on this planet. We tickle stingrays. We tickle rats. They all love it. They come back for more because it is so hard to have such fine motor control to tickle without hurting. We are unique on this planet. It is, in fact, the one thing as human beings we have that no other animal on land or in the ocean has, and that is the ability to control and just give like 1 gram of pressure.
So what makes us human is that we can pet you.
We are perfect at petting. We are like so good at petting. No one is as good as petting as we are on the entire planet.
I mean, you'll see that with
our real skill.
Like you'll see that even with snake owners. They know how to pet their snake, and you'll see the snake
do it right under their little
pet me.
And they love it because we can really do 1 gram of pressure, and it feels amazing to them.
And it's hard for them to even, with their own muscles, apply just that right amount of pressure.
So we bring something unique to the rest of the planet. And they often are learning this. They're learning that we bring this. So again, there are things that we as human beings bring to bonding with other animals. And so we're going to talk about all of that and more so that you can essentially be friends with the rest of the animals, most of them anyway. Yes, you're welcome. You're so welcome, Carrie. So yeah, we're going to talk about all of that psychology, everything. Of course, we'd love to have more people on who have had pets to talk about their pets and how they learned what their pet likes and doesn't like. Because the one thing that the kind of animals we as humans bond with are other creatures that want to communicate with us.
Like one of the things they now theorize, just based on current research, is that humans did not domesticate dogs, or wolves rather. Wolves actually domesticated themselves to be around humans. And humans, we're still not sure if humans domesticated ourselves or if we were domesticated by dogs.
Yes.
How's that for a trip?
How's that for a wild idea that dogs domesticated, or wolves domesticated themselves into dogs and dogs domesticated humans into humans? Let that sink in.
Versus birds are the most, there's a reason we talk about birds preening themselves. They really are that interested in prettiness.
Mm-hmm.
That is why most bird species, like 90% of bird species, males do not have any kind of externally exaggerated or externally moving genitalia, because that's not needed. They just care and will procreate with whoever is the prettiest. That's all they care about, is who is the prettiest bird.
So
and
yeah, the
sometimes
whole
they
thing.
think that bird is human.
Who's a pretty bird? Are you a pretty bird? Birds actually care about who's the pretty bird.
Yes, they really do.
They actually care.
That's why
And
they
so,
like it when you stick their own feathers or other things
yeah,
in
other little
them.
pretties into their head feathers, and then show them in the mirror, and they're like, "Oh look, I look amazing. I'm so pretty." They like being pretty little birds.
They are the most vain animal.
Yes.
Oh,
Even vultures. Some vultures like wearing makeup.
yes.
They will fly hundreds of miles to special mountains that contain just the right color of dirt to then put on just parts of their head and then go show it off, usually for mating purposes, but sometimes just because they feel like being pretty. And they'll have that till it falls off, like it rains, and then they'll go fly hundreds of miles back to go essentially reapply their makeup. They just like being pretty birds. That's how birds are. So understanding that birds like visuals, that birds are very into visuals, is an important aspect of having a bird as a pet. So that's right. They like it if you put one of their fallen little tail feathers into your hair, and they're like, "Oh, look, look at us. We look so pretty. We pretty birds." So again, understanding the psychology of various animals you're interested in having as pets, or even just visiting your friends' pets, can be really helpful for having a good time with all these animals. So we're going to talk about all of it, since they're all neurodivergent, so they're right up our alley. So again, thank you all for coming. We hope that this has been useful for you. We hope that you have had a good time. And if you have, maybe consider clicking the like button, sharing with your friends, giving us some comments and feedback. Feedback is our friend. And of course, coming back next week. Also, if you are feeling froggy, we do have coffee accounts, and you can join on the channel for as little as 99 cents and then use our emotes all over YouTube. I'm just throwing that out there. And the more members we have, the more emotes we can afford, y'all. So who doesn't want more farting unicorn emotes? I ask you. I know I love them. Anyway, with that, I shall wave you all off into the distance. We will be meeting on the Unicorn Council Discord server after the show in the clubhouse if you'd like to join us. And if you are not already part of the Unicorn Council Discord server, there may or may not be a Discord invite link down below. So best of luck. Bye-bye, everybody. Mwah, mwah.